Chapter 184, Ding. Subordinate Gaia killed a core strengthening stage level 2 cultivator. The reward is 300,000 experience points, the system's voice sounded in his mind. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is core formation stage level 2. What should we do with the bodies? We can burn this clown's body. As for Minister Jerdy, we need to use his body to send a message to whoever playing fake Lucifer. We should make the Netherals carry his body to royal land along with a little message, Gaia said. Unlike living beings, Netherals wouldn't get tired and the adventurers or soldiers would inform the church instead of attacking them. This made the Netherals perfect for this task. Plus, the church or guardians won't be able to interrogate the dead. Also, it would be befitting to send the dead to do the Devil Lord's work. Dalar's call for the orc echoed through the dark halls. In a few minutes, Dalar came to the throne hall running, and when he saw the bodies lying on the ground, his heart skipped a beat. Not that he never saw dead bodies, but every time he saw the two devils, an overwhelming fear would energy in his heart. He had no idea that the reason for his fear is the fear toxin emitted by Lucifer and Gaia's suit of armor. Lord Lucifer, Your Highness, after a few moments of staring at the bodies in fear, he bowed deeply towards Lucifer, who was sitting on his throne, and Gaia, who was searching through the clown's body. One locked space ring coming up, Gaia threw the space ring she took from the elf's body to Michael. Michael caught the ring and tried to see the contents inside, but something prevented his senses from accessing the space ring. System, 200 badass points. He did not even have to tell what he wanted the system to do, as it asked for points directly. Take it. In a couple of seconds, the something which prevented Michael from accessing the space ring disappeared, letting him search through the contents of the space ring. Everything inside the space ring was ordinary, stuff such as daggers, robes, a couple of thousand gold coins, and few spellbooks except an ordinary-looking diary. Interesting, it was the diary that caught Michael's attention the most. He took out the book as Dalar's expression immediately changed from fear to shock. Dalar knew even though the previous owner of the ring died, no one could access its contents for at least a few days, but Lucifer unlocked the ring in a matter of seconds. Summon the Netherals for this month and send them to royal land with that body. While Michael was reading through the diary, Gaia issued an order to Dalar. Before that, Gaia ripped off Jerdy's cloth before starting to write a few letters on his bare naked body using her claws. Guardians, stop pretending to be me, Lucifer, Gaia chuckled while writing this, because even if the Guardians were responsible for the killings, this would still bring a lot of heat for them from the church and the Holy Guards. If they were, this would startle them. System, I need a firework that paints the words Lucifer is watching everyone in the sky when it explodes. After a few minutes, Gaia saw him close the diary and walk towards Jerdy's body. He noticed Gaia's handiwork on the dead body before placing his hand on Jerdy's chest. Where am I? Arya opened her eyes slowly to see nothing but a gloomy dark hall. You're awake, the same voice she heard before she lost consciousness sounded again from behind, sending a cold chill running through her spine. Her hands moved towards her waist searching for the dagger, yet she couldn't find her dagger. She cautiously turned around, scanning the hall like she was trained to. She saw tremendous braziers hanging from each of the 16 basalt columns light up every part of the throne hall and blanket everything in a dark glow. A black fur rug split the entire room in half and was matched by the thinner ones on either side of the hall, while pointed banners with burnished plumes dangled gently from the walls. Between each banner stands a tall candle. Many of them have been lit and in turn illuminate the portraits of cloaked figures. Arya Geta of Weesight, at the end of the black rug, she saw a figure leisurely sitting on a throne of skulls and bones atop an elevated platform. The woman beside him wore identical armor and both of their eyes glowed like rubies. She couldn't see their faces through the black skull masks they were wearing. The throne was covered in skulls and bones of various races such as humans, orcs, and beasts. The throne itself radiated dark energy around the figure sitting on it. Where is Dagger? She mustered her courage to speak to the figure on the throne. She could sense the absence of the slave bond. Dead, Arya followed his finger to see a body lying on the ground. With a flick of a wrist, the woman behind the figure moved the body as Arya saw the familiar clown mask beside the dead body and confirmed the fact that Dagger is really dead. Although she was finally free of the slave bond, she did not feel free. Her eyes then frantically searched for Gertie because he was the only one who could answer her questions about her brother's whereabouts. Michael noticed her searching for Gertie. Minister Gertie is dead too. Her heart skipped a beat and utter despair hit her core. No. No. It can't be. Her knees gave out as she dropped to the ground. Streaks of tears flowed out of her eyes while making her eyes redder and redder. After reading Dagger's personal diary, Michael very well knew about the reason behind her tears, but he let Arya feel the despair before he could make a deal with her. You killed them. An intense killing aura exploded from her body as Michael saw the arch-energy radiation coming from her body completely disappear. He and Gaia were stunned by the sight of this. Arya dashed at Michael without thinking about anything else. She just wanted to kill him. Wind blast. Michael slightly raised his hand, sending a wave of wind to blast her backward. How far will you go to save your brothers? I know where they are. The blast of wind threw Arya off balance, but when she heard him, her body was tense. You have an ability that's very useful to us. Agree to serve us as a loyal subordinate and I'll take you to your brothers. You know where they are? She stuttered as tears continuously rushed out of her eyes. Gaia wryly smiled, thinking that it would be easier to get the girl to serve them than they initially expected. Yes, agree to be our subordinate and serve us loyally. You'll get your brothers, freedom, and many other things you wouldn't have even dreamed of. She did not care about anything else but her brothers, the only family she has left. If he could really get her to them as he was saying, she would be his slave to him to see her brothers one more time. Save them and I'll do anything you ask of me, Arya said. She was not dumb enough not to believe that the man on the throne is Lucifer. Although many people thought of Lucifer as an evil entity, if he could reunite her with her brothers, she would consider him as an angel, because ever since she came to this continent, she did not meet a single good person. As far as she was concerned, there were no good people in this continent, especially all the cultivators she met were rotten to the core. Take this and go to iridium mines in central Kethen. Michael expected this and prepared to deal with the scenario. He quickly retrieved the teleportation scroll he bought from the system, throwing it at Arya's feet. Your brothers are working in the mines as slaves. Use the scroll when you meet them, it will teleport you back here, said Michael. But if you try to do anything stupid like escaping, we will look for you, we will find you and we will kill you. Gaia spoke like female Liam Neeson from Taken. The powerful aura she just radiated made Arya's body weak as she struggled to even take a breath. Arya picked up the scroll at her feet while Gaia walked towards her. This will hurt. Arira heard the words from the figure before she felt a sharp pain in her head. Gaia grabbed the unconscious body of Arya, put her somewhere closer to Kethen, Michael said, sitting on his throne. He did not want Arya to know she was in the dark forest until she became his subordinate. Michael also retrieved 2 spiders from the system and sent them crawling towards Arya. The spiders soon crawled into her dress to hide. If she did try to escape after rescuing her brothers, Michael planned to activate the spiders to inject them with poison, ending their lives, because no matter how powerful or unique she is, if she tried to betray him, he would end her life without a second thought. With the hidden spiders, Gaia took her to the teleportation array adjacent to the throne hall that was the only way of getting out of Abyssal without breaking a wall. Chapter 185 System Version 3 0 Host, Michael. Cultivation Level, Core Formation Stage, Level 2 Experience Points, 0/4000000 Badass Points, 6,500, Det 12,000 Badass Points, Skills and Spells, Wind Blast, LVL2 Responsive Shield, LVL3 Environment Scanning, LVL2 Ignitia, LVL2 Lightning Dash, LVL2 Energy Devolver, LVL1 Death Range, LVL2 Techniques, Swords of Destiny, 90% Mastery Ring of Fire, 54% Mastery Occupation, Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal Status, Healthy Goals. Control the World, Rebuild the Order of Death. Utility Function, Banker, LVL3, Ratio, 1,000 Gold Coins, 10 Badass Points, Wealth, 1,670,000 Gold. Special Trait, 5-star Alchemist, 3-star Inventor. Subordinates, Gaia, Warrior, Loyalty Level 100%. Raylene, 5-star Chef, Loyalty Level 97%, Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal. After sending Gay to leave Arya near Kethen, Michael was staring at his status page with a gloomy face. No matter how many badass points he earned, they would disappear just like that. The stronger he got, the more badass points he needed. Now that I have Majestic and will soon open the restaurant, I should upgrade banker function. 30,000 badass points will be required to upgrade the banker function to level 4. The conversation ratio will be 1,000 gold coins to 20 badass points. It'd be a good idea to auction some of the herbs and spell scrolls I got from the Nether Realm. Michael decided to go to an auction hall to sell some of the less useful items in his storage. He had many rare spell scrolls and herbs that would fetch a great price. Also, I have to meet Nathan's uncle, deciding his next 2 destinations. He rested on the throne waiting for Gaia to get back. After waiting for another half an hour, she arrived at the Abyssal. I left her at Kethan's border. Do you think it's a good idea sending her alone? I heard security in the slaves' mines are pretty tight. If she tried anything stupid, she would be killed. That's why I gave her the scroll. Even if she had an idea to escape, she would be forced to use the scroll because of the security. How do you know about her brothers anyway? Surprisingly, that clown had a habit of writing a diary. Michael threw the diary to Gaia. Reading others' diaries is fun, she said excitedly, catching the diary. Do you know a good place to auction a few things? Oh, she sounded surprised. Why? I need gold coins, a whole lot of gold coins, Michael said, even though he knew that she would wonder why he needed so many gold coins. There's a Phoenix Auction Manor branch in Kingdom Kethan. They host high-end auction on the weekends. On the contrary to Michael's expectations, she did not ask him why. You aren't going to ask why I need so many gold coins? Michael was really curious as he directly asked her. She did not give an answer but calmly walked at him before sitting on his lap. I said we shouldn't have any secrets between us, and you still seem to have a few secrets of your own. I'm not going to ask you to reveal them all because I trust that you have a good reason not to tell me. Whatever the reason is, I know you will tell me when the time's right. Michael's heart immediately warmed hearing her. He just lifted her mask and kissed her full of love and passion. If the system was just a system as he thought when he first came to the world, he would have decided to keep the system's existence a secret from her forever, but he was proved wrong. The system was not just a system. He knew that in the future he will have to fight otherworldly supreme beings to protect him and the system. At that time, whether he liked it or not, he would have to reveal the system's existence because she was not only his soul mate but also a powerful being who could help him in the battle. Wow, that was intense, Gaia said, taking her lips away from his. Shall we return to the sect, my queen? Yes, we shall, my king. How dare they attack innocent people in the domain of the Winston family? In the backyard of Winston's family compound, Sabrina Winston, the second daughter of Lord Angus Winston, was barking like a mad dog. Calm down, miss. We have already sent men to investigate the bandit attacks. Samuel, an old butler who was serving the Winston family for many decades, pleaded with the young girl. Now that I'm back, I will personally bring those evildoers to justice. Sabrina unsheathed her sword from the sheath that was adorned with little blue roses. Please don't do anything rash, young miss. At least wait for young Master Noah. The young master said he's coming here in a couple of days. Big brother is coming? Why didn't you tell me this earlier? The anger within her eyes vanished instantly when she heard the news of her brother's arrival from Samuel. Samuel sighed in relief, thinking this would keep the young miss in the home. Then it's more important for me to get rid of those bandit bastards before Big Brother comes. What do the other guardians think of him if his own homeland was infested with bandits? At least let me put together a team, young miss, Samuel sighed. He thought saying her brother is coming would keep her in the home, but now he realized he just made her even more willful to go after the bandits. Ever since she was a little girl, she had a heroic spirit just like her other siblings. This heroic spirit earned her a place in the Holy Trident Academy, one of the best academies in the Elon continent for girls. Samuel felt proud of the son and daughters of Lord Angus like they were his own grandchildren. He watched Noah grow into a capable young man and get into the Guardian Guild. He watched young Miss Rowena, Noah's elder sister, become the Holy Maiden of Sky Hall, an existence that could be compared to the Great Nine Clans, and he watched young Miss Sabrina becomes the youngest disciples of Holy Trident Academy. While thinking about the three, a sliver of sadness emerged in Samuel's eyes, but the old butler quickly hid it before Sabrina could notice. Uncle Samuel, what are you waiting for? I'll go out looking for the bandits the first thing in the morning. they'll go put up a team to accompany you right away. Young Miss Sabrina sheathed her sword, rolling her eyes. Just make sure they don't slow me down, of course. Young Miss Samuel bowed deeply before leaving the garden area to assemble a team to go with Sabrina. Since all the reports he received mentioned that all the bandits were at the body refining stage, he knew Sabrina, a body refining stage level 4 warrior, and a team of body strengthening warriors would eradicate the bandit problems. Samuel, when will Noah arrive here? Just as Samuel was leaving the garden area, he heard a gentle voice as he turned to see Diana Winston, the lady of the house Winston. She walked towards him through the garden full of flowers. Golden, long wavy hair neatly coiffed to reveal a lovely yet worried face. Big, round golden eyes, set narrowly within their sockets, one could see a faint black circle under her eyes. Her face contained a gentle smile but also a deep sorrow. "My lady," Samuel bowed, greeting her with a smile. "Young Master Noah will be here in a couple of days. You don't have to worry, my lady. I'll always worry about my children." "Samuel," Diana said, looking at the last of the sun rays at the horizon. "Have you found an alchemist capable of brewing the potion of Phoenix?" "I've already sent the men to Lord Gabriel's house requesting his help, my lady. Considering young Master's status as a trainee guardian, he might help us. I also sent men to the Sunrise sect asking for their 5-star alchemist, but I don't think he could brew the potion of Phoenix." "It's the young man named Ghost, right?" Diana asked Samuel as he was surprised by the fact that she knew about him. "Yes, my lady." "How do you know his name?" "Maids love to gossip, Samuel." "Why do you think he cannot brew the potion?" "If what I heard was right, he seemed to be a very talented young man. He may be a 5-star alchemist, my lady, but he's too young. He cannot be compared to Lord Gabriel, who has been in the alchemy fields for decades." "That young man's age is only a quarter of Lord Gabriel's experience. You cannot gauge talent with age, Samuel. You should know this better than everyone else." "Yes, my lady. Forgive me for my ignorance." Since Noah was little, he would share everything with Samuel as he considered the old man as family. Because of their relationship, Noah admitted that he got the spot in the Guardian Guild because Ghost rejected in the first place. Although Samuel knew Noah would have gotten the spot eventually, he couldn't help but feel a slight bitterness towards Ghost. The old man's heart refused to believe that this Ghost is better than his young master. "Boss, we received a message from our inside man. Sabrina Winston is coming looking for us tomorrow morning." "Wonderful. Let's see how that brat feels when I send his little sister's head and body in 2 different parcels." At the moment, somewhere else in Kethen, 2 men were plotting their revenge against Noah Winston. They prepared to give Sabrina a nasty surprise, but they had no idea that someone far worse than Sabrina is on his way to Kethen. Chapter 186. The Winston family domain's border was adorned with Mother Nature's wonders such as rivers, waterfalls, ocean of trees, and grasslands. Until the Winston family's young generation, they were a small noble house under Duke Marvin, except now they had become one of the powerful and influential noble families in Penn Town. Unlike Kingdom Breedia divided into 4 baronies, Kingdom Kethen was divided into 4 duchies: Rosegate, Penn Town, Flame Fair, and Ice Fair. The main reason for the Winston family's ascension to power was the engagement between Noah and Alicia, whose family was the most powerful family, in Ice Fair. The 2 families allied together against one of the oldest and influential families, House of Bellwatch in Penn Town, to destroy them overnight. House Bellwatch tried to engage Alicia into their family, but Noah ruined their plan, resulting in a full-scale war between the 2 families. In the end, they were wiped out and their properties were seized by the Winston family, which made them rise in power quickly. The young generation of the Winston family was extremely talented, especially House Head Lord Angust's children. The eldest daughter, Rowena, became the Holy Maiden of Sky Hall. The second one, Noah, got into Guardian Guild, and the last, Sabrina, became the youngest disciple of Holy Trident Academy in Kingdom Draddle. At the border of Penn Town and Flame Fair was divided by Maple Forest, a beauty beyond words. The forest was full of red, yellow, and white maple trees. The forest was calm, their colors were depleted by the winter and painted with white. At the moment, a group of riders was galloping through the snow, disturbing the silent forest. The leading rider of the group was a young girl in her late teens. Her golden hair danced around her shoulder while her hazel eyes contained a hint of anger and resolution. She was neither too fair nor too dark, but she had nicely tanned skin along with the perfect structure. Her one hand was on the reins while the other was on the sheath hanging on her slender waist. It was adorned with little blue flowers, the iconic blue jasmines of Holy Trident Academy. She stopped her horse in the middle of the forest staring at her surroundings. In her eyes, there was nothing but snow-covered trees, but the usual silence of the forest had become unsettling. "Young miss, why did we stop?" Despite Samuel's strong opposition, Sabrina only brought 5 body-strengthening stage warriors. She thought a large group of warriors would spook the bandits into hiding. "I know you're there." Sabrina didn't answer the guard but spoke while aiming her sword at a frozen maple tree 30 meters in front of them. "No point in hiding, I can sense your presence." The 5 guards behind Sabrina became agitated as they quickly retrieved their weapons to protect the young Mississippi. Well, I'm surprised." A figure wearing full white robes to blend with the snow stepped aside from the tree. Sabrina was aiming her sword. "Even though I was using a concealment spell to hide my presence, you still found me," the man in white said. "No spell can hide your presence completely. You should have known this if you went to a school or an academy instead of becoming a bandit." Seeing the man was only at the level 2 body strengthening stage, the guards behind Sabrina loosened up their bodies a bit. They knew that their young miss could take anyone under body strengthening stage level 4 regardless of her cultivation level. She was just a body refining level 6 warrior, yet the spells she possessed and the training she got from the Holy Trident Academy made her a formidable warrior. "Where's the rest of your group? If you surrender without resisting, you won't be sentenced to death," Sabrina said as the man shook his head, still smiling. "What about you and I duel? If you win, I and my men will surrender," the man said. "Young miss, something's not right. We should arrest him and head back to the manor." "Don't worry, Visor. I'll make this duel a quick one." Sabrina waved her hand at Visor, one of the senior guards of the Winston family. "But if you'll lose, how about make me and my men the protectors of the maple forest? We like this place." "I accept. Shall we start?" Sabrina asked, jumping down from her horse. "Miss, please ask your men to put away their weapons. I fear they might interfere if I gain the upper hand in our duel," the man said looking at Sabrina's men. "Shut up, you lowly thief, you can't dash." "Tell your men to put away their weapons, Visor." "Young miss, please dash, it's an order." Visor was shut by Sabrina before he could advise her against putting their weapons away, because if they were ambushed, mere seconds of drawing their weapons back might cost their lives. However, they couldn't do anything against their young miss order. Letting out a sigh of defeat, Visor signaled the men to put away their weapons. "I can't believe it worked," the man who challenged Sabrina mumbled under his breath. Although he knew Sabrina was not an ordinary cultivator, he still believed that he could defeat her before they put their real plan in motion. However, when he noticed Sabrina sheathing her sword, he frowned. "Arrogant bitch," he cursed her in his mind. Call of Frost. The man cast the spell as the snow surrounding him vibrated violently before transforming into an 8 feet tall snow giant. "Pathetic," Sabrina shook her head disapprovingly looking at the rushing snow giant. "Holy Trident Blade." When these 3 simple words escaped her mouth, a swirling tornado emerged from the ground between the snow giant and her. The tornado forced the snow giant back before settling down to reveal a 6 feet blue sword that sparkled radiance. The heat radiated from the blade melted the snow around as it hovered in the mid-air between the giant and Sabrina. "Cut," Sabrina said waving her hand as the blade cut the snow giant into 2 pieces, leaving the bandit man startled. The first spell was cast by a body-strengthening warrior, the second one was created by only a body-refining stage warrior, yet the latter obliterated the first spell in just a matter of seconds. It was because the first spell was an uncommon one while the spell cast by Sabrina was a rare spell. Normally a body-refining stage cultivator couldn't cast a rare category spell as it would require so much arch energy than a usual body-refining stage cultivator would have, but Sabrina was anything but normal. The last couple of seconds flashed across the man's eyes over and over again. He was already warned by his leader that the girl shouldn't be underestimated, yet he did exactly just that. She did fall for his boss scheming, but she didn't fall for his spell. "Ice daggers, come forth." After coming out of his initial shock, he quickly cast another spell utilizing the snow around him to further strengthen his spell. His hands shone in glimmering white as the snow beneath and around him transformed into several daggers, the number of daggers were in between 50 to 60, all aiming their pointy end towards Sabrina. Visor and his men gawked at the daggers, fear and worry for their young miss riddles their faces. Yet, there was no fear in Sabrina's eyes, only indifference. Holy Trident Shield, Holy Trident Arrows, she cast 2 spells at the same time effortlessly. The first spell created a translucent dome around her, and then the second spell created a single large arrow that shone like an arrow made of gold. "Let's finish this, shall we?" Sabrina calmly said, raising her right hand at the man. Following her hand, the arrow slowly tilted, aiming itself at the man. "Enough playing," his boss voice sounded in his mind, letting him know that he should start the real battle. "Go!" The man screamed as the daggers soared through the cold wind, except they couldn't go through the translucent dome around her. At the moment when he screamed, Sabrina thought he was only ordering the daggers, but the very next moment, she saw several more figures emerge from the snow. "Kill them all," he yet again shrieked as a rain of arrows came down on Sabrina and her men. The dome kept her safe, but before Visor and his men could cast a defense spell or draw their weapons, the arrow penetrated them, ending 2 of the 5 guards' lives in an instant. "It's an ambush." Visor screamed and rushed towards Sabrina, who was standing several meters away from him. While riding towards her in the horse, Visor grabbed a shield from one of his fallen comrades to shield himself from the arrows. "Did you really think you could catch us with only 5 guards? How fucking stupid can you be?" The man's laughter and his words were like fuel to Sabrina's anger. The veins in her eyes popped to make her eyes blood red in anger. Holy Trident Flaming Palm. The dome around her disappeared as a gigantic palm made of nothing but blazing crimson red fire appeared behind her. Compared to the heat the palm was radiating, the heat radiated by the Holy Trident sword was nothing. The snow around her vaporized and trees caught fire. A rare spell can turn the tides between a body-strengthening and body-refining warrior, but it wouldn't matter when a body-refining stage warrior fights with a core formation warrior. Suddenly another voice reverberated in the forest before a spear flew out of nowhere and struck Visor through the chest. Ice storm. Before Sabrina could locate the source of the voice, a mini ice storm emerged from the ground before Sabrina, engulfing the flaming palm. "Boss is here." Chapter 187. Sabrina looked up at the sky to see a man descending from the sky on his flying sword. He was tall and had sky-blue robes. On his chest, the letters B and W embroidered delicately. When Sabrina's eyes fell on his face, she took a step back in shock, surprise, or both. Half of his face burned, only patches of burned hair occupied half of his head. He seemed ugly and terrifying at the same time. It took her a few seconds to recognize him using his other half of the face. Alden. Alden Bellwatch. "Oh, you recognized me. People don't recognize me anymore because of this." He pointed at his burned face, screaming at her. Inferno Punch. His scream echoed through the forest. It was hard to identify his emotions by looking at his face, but his voice contained uncontrollable rage and agony. A few seconds after his scream, the surrounding air began to become hotter and hotter, melting the snow into water and then vaporizing it. Suddenly, a burst of blood-red flames blasted Sabrina, sending her flying away 10 meters before her body hit the ground with a thud sound. The anger within him amplified the spell's power. The taupe-colored fur on her dress was completely burned by the spell, and if it wasn't for her quick reflection to block the spell by covering herself with arch energy, her flawless skin would have been roasted. "Kill them." Alden ordered the men, pointing at the 3 struggling guards. "Stop." Sabrina screamed before trying to stand up, but she was too late as the bandits already slit the guards' throats. The blood oozed out of their throats, painted the white snow in red. "They paid the price for what you and your family did to mine. I'm gonna tear you apart." Sabrina's mind told her that she had 0% chance to defeat him, yet the rage within her heart wanted her to fight. It wanted her to avenge those guards. "Boss, I cannot believe this stupid bitch accepted my challenge and asked her men to stay down." The man who dueled with Sabrina chuckled. Although he chuckled, he avoided direct eye contact with Alden. "Because she's too arrogant, just like her brother, Noah Winston." When he said Noah's name, the bandits around Alden felt the overwhelming murderous intent. They all just wished to devour the beauty in front of them, but after seeing the murderous intent in Alden's face, they sighed, realizing that she wouldn't be so beautiful when Alden is done with her. Standing a few meters away from Alden, Sabrina drew her sword. Her sword's blade was azure blue that glimmered, giving a unique aura to the sword. This is not going to be a one-on-one, this is going to be a gang-bang. An evil grin mixed with a cruel expression appeared on his half-burned face. Fuck her up. Really? The man dueled Sabrina became really excited as he looked Alden in his eyes, with excitement filling his whole body. Plop. Alden, however, slapped the man, wiping off the excitement from his face. Not literally, you idiot. Kill her, yes, boss. Facing 12 body-strengthening warriors and 1 core formation warrior, Sabrina stood firm, as she knew escaping from them was impossible. Even if she used her lifeblood, there was no chance of coming out of this battle alive. I should have listened to you, old man. She regretted her decision to only bring 5 guards with her. Frostbite, several dozen spears made of ice flew at her from all directions. Her grip on the hilt tightened as she swung her sword, cutting most of the ice spears, but few of them already penetrated her. Her gray dress slowly turned red, especially around her shoulder and thighs where the ice spear went throughout rather than grazing her. I'm gonna send your body in pieces to your family so they can feel how it's like to lose someone they love, Pulch. Sabrina threw up, mouth full of blood, as her body began to turn pale. She could feel her body failing her. As her life was fading away, she just wanted to embrace her mother one last time. She wanted to see her family. When my brother comes, she stuttered, wiping off the blood from the corners of her mouth. I know everything about your brother. That's why I want directly fight him but kill everyone he cares about, no matter how long I have to wait for an opportunity. I will strike from the shadows, taking 1 life at a time from your family. Leave her alone. Just as the other bandits were about to end Sabrina's life, a childish yet gruff voice appeared. The very next moment, they were stunned to see a baby dragon with shiny crimson scales landing in front of them. She's now under the protection of Nightmare. Nightmare puffed his chest out and held his head high proudly. Boss, that's a dragon. Many of the men behind Alden screamed in unison as they subconsciously took a step back. Although after the dragon clan disappeared from the face of this planet, there were still many dragons living scattered around the world, and all of them were extremely powerful enough to burn an entire city in a matter of hours. However, soon the fact the baby dragon was only a foundation stage level 3 beast reached their brain as the sudden fear emerged in their heart faded away. Who, what, fly, away, Sabrina coughed up blood, warning the baby dragon to escape. Boss, let me catch that dragon. Well, be settled for life if we auctioned this dragon, one of the men reminded Alden. They wanted to quickly finish off Sabrina and catch the dragon, who's just pitifully looking at them. I don't know where the fuck you come from, but this is between me and her. Get the fuck out of here, lizard. Alden was in no mood to catch the dragon or sell it to the highest bidder. After what Noah did to his family, he no longer cared for anything but revenge. If you can interfere with an honorable duel, why can't I interfere with your despicable attempt to kill this human girl? Alden gritted his teeth as blood already started to seep through burned muscles in his face. What will you do? What can you do? Alden menacingly asked Nightmare, conjuring a fireball in his hand. Nothing, but I have 2 buddies. Either of them can and will end your pathetic lives in a couple of minutes tops. So if you value your lives, I suggest you start running now. Sabrina's body now completely becomes pale as white paper due to the blood loss. She saw the world around her spinning. Dizziness finally caught up with her, making standing still a challenge. Kill her and this lizard. The men were disappointed with Alden's order as they wanted to catch the dragon alive. However, they did not dare to question Alden because he was the one paying them, and he already killed one of them by burning him just because he questioned Alden's orders once. They did not want to make the same mistake. Sabrina slowly dragged herself to shield the little dragon that tried to help her. She wanted to do one last kindness before dying. Stand down, you stupid girl. Nightmare sounded calm, but one could sense the disappointment and bitterness in his voice. Nightmare was hunting for meat when he saw everything that happened with Sabrina and the bandits. At first, he just wanted to leave them be, but the images of him chased by humans helplessly flashed across his face. He felt sympathy for the human girl. He wanted to help her just like Ghost helped him. However, he also felt pity for the guards. If she quickly captured the man before accepting the duel or brought more men, she would have had the chance to escape, or at least the guards would have survived by running away. Because her arrogance and overconfidence made her overlook the obvious ambush, she got her guards killed and almost got herself killed. Without giving her any time to react, Nightmare flapped his wings, creating a blast of wind that knocked down Sabrina. Frost Dash, what's going on here? Just when the men were about to cast spells to attack Nightmare, a calm voice sounded from above before Alden saw a youngster and a young girl in full black descending from the sky. Whoa, you're fucking ugly. The men behind Alden almost tripped on their feet when they heard the young woman comment on Alden's face. Dickie, what the fuck are you doing here, and who the fuck is this? Gaia pointed at the unconscious Sabrina. Nightmare already accepted being called Dickie as he knew there's no stopping the Naga from calling that. Core formation stage. Alden and the men frowned, looking at Michael's cultivation level. After looking at the dead guards and the girl, Michael could connect the dots to see what had happened here. Nightmare quickly flapped his wings, taking off from the ground. He then landed on Michael's shoulder before explaining everything from Sabrina's duel to Alden's ambush. For a moment, a glint of anger appeared in Michael's eyes, not towards Alden or his men but actually towards Nightmare. The baby dragon was not aware of this, but Gaia read Michael's expression like a book. Dickie put his name on the line, human. We should help him keep his word. Get out of my way. Alden screamed after seeing them whisper among themselves, interrupting his perfectly plotted murder plan. Michael turned his gaze towards Alden and sighed. Look, I don't care what's the history between you two, but I can tell her family did something bad to yours. You have every right to kill her, her family, and do what you like. I get that. But my familiar here put his name to protect the girl, so leave her alone this time and kill her another time. Chapter 188. Despite the temptation of killing all of them, earning enough experience points to level up, Michael chose not to kill them right out of the bat and gave them a chance to escape. He did not want to meddle with Alden as he wasn't completely aware of Alden's background. Michael paid no attention to Alden anymore. He turned his gaze back at Nightmare, who was standing on his shoulder. You got yourself into this mess, so clean out the mess. What do you want me to do? Nightmare felt wronged by the way Michael talked. Take their bodies, put them on a horse. Michael felt no pity for Sabrina, but he did feel pity for the guards who lost their lives because of her arrogance. Do it. Nightmare was taken aback by the seriousness of Michael's voice. This was the first time Michael talked to Nightmare without putting on a playful voice. Okay, Nightmare purred like a kitten before flying into the forest to find the horses that ran away when the battle started. What about the girl? Gaia asked, seeing Michael walk away from Sabrina, turning his back on Alden and his group. Inferno wave. However, just as Michael was walking away, he heard Alden scream, casting a spell to kill not only Sabrina but also him, a big fucking mistake. Lightning Dash. Before the wave of blood-red fire engulfed Sabrina, Michael activated Lightning Dash. The crescent moon-shaped flame did not stop when it hit the ground where Sabrina was but traveled unstoppably to the place where Michael was a second ago. The snow on the ground was instantly vaporized as the trees that were hit by the flame obliterated into nothing but ashes. Whoosh! Before Alden could confirm whether his flame wave hit the targets or not, an arrow pierced straight through his chest. It was so fast that he only felt the pain after a couple of seconds. The arrow went through his chest. Boss, the men scream, drawing their weapons and preparing to cast spells. They saw the young woman with the bow aiming an arrow at Alden. That was a mistake, buddy. Alden heard the youngster's calm voice again, but now, it sounded from behind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Continued notification sounds rang in his mind. Alden's men were so confused and shocked to see him appear behind them in a blink of an eye. I gave you a chance, something that most don't get. Yet, you chose to attack me, a big fucking mistake. Kill them. Alden did not waste any moment. He yelled the order at his men while conjuring arch energy to cast the powerful spell in his arsenal. Alden witnessed firsthand what would happen when you underestimate your opponent when he fought Noah, and he did not choose to make the same mistake again. Therefore, he chose to use his most powerful spell. Lightning Dash. Michael on the other hand wanted to end the battle quickly but also wanted to increase his mastery over the Ring of Fire. Before Alden could finish his spell or his men could even start to attack him, Michael appeared at the center of Alden's men. Ring of Fire. Alden and his men felt warm energy pulsate from his body. With a booming and unearthly humming sound, a wave of fire many times brighter and hotter than Alden's inferno fire discharged from Michael's body, burning 3 bandits to a crisp instantly. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 36,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 36,000 experience points and 900 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage level 9 cultivator. The reward is 36,000 experience points and 800 badass points. Hit burns. The remaining 9 body-strengthening warriors were squirming and screaming in agony on the ground. Don't let anyone escape, Gaia nodded before rapidly firing arrows that pierced through the bandits' legs, making them unable to run. Considering Michael's mastery with Ring of Fire was at only 54%, there was no perfect ring around him or pulses of flame waves in circles. The waves of flames chaotically blasted the bandits away. Frostbite. Frost Giant. Crystal Rain. From Michael's activation of Lightning Dash to Ring of Fire, everything happened so quickly. Only after Michael killed 3 of the men, the rest of them realized what just happened. They rapidly cast spells, attacking him with all kinds of objects made of ice. Alden handpicked 13 warriors who specialized in ice spells that utilized the winter and the snow. However, the heat coming from the Ring of Fire was so hot that it melted the objects created by his men to attack Michael, taking away their advantage. Pulch. Boss. Ding. Subordinate Gaia killed a core formation stage, level 4 cultivator. The reward is 150,000 experience points. Just when Alden was about to attack Michael, an arrow layered with golden light pierced through Alden's head, splattering gray brain matter all over the ground and on everyone who stood closer to him, including Michael. What? He was about to cast a powerful spell, Gaia shrugged, explaining the reason for her action. After Alden's body hit the ground, the rest of the men mostly lost their will to fight. They had no time to wonder how a body-refining stage cultivator like her killed a core formation warrior like Alden, except they knew this is no time to wonder. Damn you woman, you killed him because you are fucking hungry. Michael shouted at Gaia before sending bolts of lightning through the bandits who were running away. It was you dumb fucker who forgot to get my traveling pack from Raylene, she yelled back while rapidly firing arrows at the bandits with deadly accuracy. Each arrow shot from her bow like a bullet from a gun. In the middle of the snow-covered maple forest, screams of agony reverberated. Each time a bolt of lightning or an arrow fired, it took a life. The splattered organs and blood had given the maple forest its red color, only now, the red was not from red maple trees but from the bandits. I don't know how a cultivator could get hungry. I do. Michael and Gaia were quarreling like an old couple as they moved around the area, killing the bandits mercilessly. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Core Formation Stage Level 3. Now you're breaking through. Fuck you and your war god body. Hunger and envy of him breaking through by just killing people made her even more furious. Then why don't you go back to the sect and get your traveling pack? Michael air quoted the 2 words traveling pack, which was nothing but all kinds of food prepared by Raylene for her. Maybe I will, she exclaimed. She put on her no talking with you face while Michael decided it's not very healthy to argue with a hungry woman. Nay. Michael turned his head towards the direction of the sound. He saw Nightmare leading a horse by pulling the rein using his mouth. Regardless of Nightmare's little body, he had several times more strength than an average human being. You 2 killed them all, yeah no shit, burn the bodies before someone comes searching for them, Gaia said to Nightmare while avoiding eye contact with Michael. While Nightmare was lifting the dead guards using his claws and mouth, Michael advanced toward Sabrina. Fortunately, he poured a healing potion when he initially used Lightning Dash to save her from Alden's spell. If not for his healing potion, she would have died due to blood loss. Wait a minute, I know that symbol. When he lifted Sabrina from the ground, Gaia noticed the blue jasmine decorated sword sheath. Putting her anger towards Michael aside, she came to check Sabrina's sheath. Luckily, Alden's spell still messed up her organs as she was still unconscious. It's a sheath given to all Holy Trident disciples. Where did she get it? Yeah, she was using spells that had the words Holy Trident, Nightmare said, putting the last dead body on the horse. Then she must be a disciple of Holy fucking Trident. I guess it's a big deal. After looking at Gaia's awestruck expression, Michael knew Holy Trident must be a very powerful place. Very. Holy Trident Academy is said to be the most powerful academy in Elon. They are so powerful that they would make Aragoth look like a declined sect. Interesting. Finally a slight smile appeared on Michael's face. Nightmare, did you find anything that could lead us to her home? While floating in the mid-air, Nightmare scratched his head recalling the conversation Alden had with Sabrina before his eyes lightened up. I heard that half-burned humans say her brother's full name, Noah Winston. Noah Winston? Even Michael was surprised to hear the familiar name. He couldn't believe that he just saved Noah's sister. Let's bug his home. Gaia was excited and so was Michael. If he could bug Noah's home, especially Noah's room, he might give some valuable intel about Guardians and even make him carry the bug into Guardian Guild headquarters. Next stop, Winston's. Chapter 189. After finding another horse in the frozen maple forest, the duo began their journey towards Penn Town instead of going to Ice Fair where the Phoenix Auction Manor branch was located. To reach Ice Fair, he would have to pass through either Flame Fair or Penn Town. Going through Penn Town would take 2 days while going through Flame Fair would only take 1 day from the maple forest. Since there were still 4 days left to the auction and the girl laying on the horse before him was Noah's sister, Michael changed his initial plan to going through Flame Fair. Gaia was unusually silent during the journey. She was still giving him the silent treatment whereas Nightmare too flew along with him without uttering a word. However, Michael did not start a conversation because he enjoyed the serenity. The path through the snow was narrow, not more than 3 horses could travel side by side. Trees on each side of the path were covered in snow. The quietness Michael was enjoying got interrupted by the howling sound of the wind that was followed by a heavy downpour of snow. He was fortunate enough to buy a long winter coat that was made of black bear coat, according to the cloth merchant he met at the Sunrise sect. The same merchant agreed to supply the sect with winter clothes. Michael was still considering the design for the sect's uniform as he loathed the current orange uniform. Claire was already on the task to design the new uniform and as a guardian of the sect, he asked her to make the uniform black. Even with a fur-covered winter coat, the chillness made his hair stand up. He quickly retrieved a blanket he packed before covering Sabrina's body with it. How could he let Sabrina freeze to death after saving her from Alden? Wondering what the uniform would look like, Michael gave a mild kick to the horse to fasten the pace. After passing through frozen waterfalls, trees, and a few buildings along the way, a vague figure of a city wall appeared in his eyesight. The heavy snow obstructed his eyesight. If not that was a problem, every breath he released turned into a cloud of white smoke, obstructing the view before him even further. As he was riding through the snow, he felt 2 soft hands wrapping around his chest. You can use arch energy to warm yourself, Michael responded to her burying her face on his back. I'm still not talking to you, jerk, she head-butted his back. Suit yourself, I considered taking you out for dinner at a nice restaurant in Kethen but meh, you're kidding? Nope, she was excited, tightening her grip around his waist. She never went on a real date with him. Although they spent most of their time in each other's company, Gaia always wanted to spend some time with him, without all the planning, battle, or any kind of stress. I know a nice place in Penn Town. She moved her hands from Michael's waist and stretched his cheeks like she was playing with a chubby baby. Flying beside them, Nightmare just rolled his eyes and continued to fly towards the city gate. When Michael's group got closer to the city gate, a group of guards wearing surprisingly high-quality fur-coated armor. Halt your steps. The guard leading the group had a sturdy body forged in battle. His long brown beard imprisoned countless snowflakes, almost making his brown beard white. He wearily stared at Michael, but his mouth opened a few millimeters wide when his gaze fell on Nightmare. However, the sight of frozen bodies on the horse led by Nightmare turned his surprise into hostility. Dead bodies. The guards behind him quickly drew their weapons out. There was no fear in their eyes even though Michael, a core formation warrior, could kill them like stepping on an ant, as they were only at the body refining stage except the lead guard who was at body strengthening stage. Relax, they were killed by the bandits in the maple forest, Michael said, like he did not notice the guards at all. Although the lead guard didn't take out his spear attached to his back, he moved towards Nightmare slowly and cautiously to check the dead bodies. The lead guard conjured a small orb of fire to melt down the snow on one of the dead bodies. Soon, when the ice melted down from the dead Daoist chest, the lead guard's eyes widened. He frantically melted the snow on the other bodies before one of the guards behind him screamed, "It's the guards of the Winston family." "Sir, follow me," the lead guard said, taking the reins from Nightmare. The baby dragon was more than happy to give the rein to the guard. "To where?" Gaia's voice was grim, but Michael patted the hands around his waist, wordlessly asking her to calm down. "To the Winston family compound, lead the way," Michael gestured at the guard. It saved him the time to ask someone the directions to the Winston family. The lead guard overlooked Sabrina on Michael's horse. This wasn't unusual, as the lead guard might have assumed her as another dead body. The guards opened the large metal gates to reveal Penn Town. The first thing that caught Michael's eyes was the tallest building in Penn Town, a clock tower that resembled London's Big Ben. The rest of the buildings were covered with snow, barely revealing their oak wood walls and birch wood rooftops. Regardless of the snow, the township itself looked gorgeous. Penn Town had a captivating atmosphere. There weren't many civilians on the streets that arched in organic swirls around the aromatic bakery, cheerful taverns, and other buildings considering the heavy snowfall. There wasn't a big jaw-dropping difference between any cities in Breedia and Penn Town. Majorities of the buildings were two-story, while occasionally Michael noticed 3- or 4-story buildings. The buildings were built very close to each other like train blocks, but the pavements were spacious enough to have benches and small places to sit and eat, to relax as folk went about their day. Michael followed the lead guard's horse to meet the Winstons. After passing through lines of crowded buildings, the Penn Town opened up to reveal its inner city where the prominent families were located. Shortly, a miniature version of the city gates appeared before him. The walls were illuminated by torches and had archers patrolling on them. Ding! 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 From the other side of the walls, 3 loud bell sounds reverberated. Soon, Michael heard the gates open as another group of guards walked out of the gates, led by an old man with neatly combed hair. He was dressed very conservatively and formally, consisting of a waistcoat, gray striped trousers, a white shirt with a Windsor cut, and a black tie. Without a second look, Michael knew he must be the Winston family loyal butler. "Captain Giles, what brought you here?" Although the butler's eyes betrayed his surprise when he saw Nightmare, he remained composed as a butler should be. "I brought some bad news, Samuel. Can we talk inside?" "She needs a warm place to heal properly," Michael interrupted Captain Giles, attracting the butler's gaze immediately. Michael jumped down from his horse as all the guards in the vicinity tensed up. He ignored the guards, taking Sabrina into his arms. "Young miss." Even the sight of the dragon couldn't make the butler act out of proper composure, but the sight of Sabrina lying in Michael's hands did. Captain Giles was stunned. He thought it was another body, but in reality, it was Sabrina Winston herself. "What happened to her?" The old butler leaped at Michael like a cheetah, checking her pulse. "She's fine, but she won't be if we keep standing out here in the freezing cold. Follow me." The old butler wanted to take Sabrina from his arms, but with the way the blanket wrapped around her, Samuel feared that even slight exposure to cold could kill his young Mississippi. Therefore, he led the way into the family compound, letting Michael carry her in his arms. "Move out of the way," the butler frantically waved his hands at the fancy-robed people on the way. When everyone thought the heavy downpour couldn't get any worse, it did. The wind caused walking difficult as Michael felt like an invisible force pushing him back, while the howling wind made it almost impossible to hear the old butler. After the struggle with Mother Nature, they finally entered a building to see a spacious hall where several people who wore high-quality fancy robes occupied. Sabrina. Sabi. Sabi. From all the directions, Michael heard people shout at the girl in his arms. Where is her room? Michael asked before those people could swarm him like bees. This way, up the stairs, the old butler led him upstairs. Nightmare saw countless eyes staring at him rather than the girl in Michael's hands. A few of the children were reaching their hands at him, probably to pet him, but Nightmare ignored those snobby little kids. What happened to Sabi? Who is that youngster carrying Sabrina? Is he one of Noah's friends? He's so handsome and powerful. Even in a situation like this, Gaia could hear a few girls drooling looking at Michael instead of worrying about Sabrina. The butler soon opened the first room on the second floor to reveal pink-painted walls. The wall behind the large bed had a rainbow drawn on it, while a large life-size teddy bear occupied the corner beside the bed. Michael gently placed Sabrina on the bed before taking out another vial of healing potion from his space ring, because by looking at the slight paleness of her skin, he knew she needed another healing potion. However, when he was about to pour the vial into her mouth, his hand was stopped by someone. He turned back to see the one who stopped him was a golden-haired youngster in his early 20s. What is that you're trying to make her drink? His voice was unnecessarily loud and contained a hint of murderous aura. It's a healing potion, you moron. The youngster's tone pissed Gaia off as she swatted the youngster's hand away from Michael's. The situation was immediately tensed up. She was attacked by a powerful spell. If she doesn't take another healing potion in the next 2 hours, her organs will fail. Michael looked at the old butler instead of the youngster. He wasn't a healer, but he knew that her life would be in danger if she didn't take another healing potion. He really wondered what kind of spell Alden used that required 2 healing potions to heal Sabrina. Chapter 190. If it wasn't for Gaia swatting the youngster's hand from Michael's hand, Nightmare would have bitten or even used dragon's breath on him. Nightmare sensed a tinge of negative energy from the youngster towards Michael. Michael chose not to pour the healing potion into Sabrina's mouth but placed the potion on the table beside her bed. Do what you want, she's your family, please. Forgive our rudeness, young master. Samuel quickly bowed before taking the potion in his hand. He then took a sniff as his eyes widened in shock. This is a healing potion and it's 80% pure. Michael had a feeling that the old butler might know more about alchemy than anyone else in the room. What do you expect? He's a 5-star alchemist, Gaia said loudly enough for everyone to hear her words crystal clear. You're Ghost of River Town, the 5-star alchemist of Breedia, one of the guards who accompanied Captain Giles shouted, making everyone stare at Michael in a new light. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points, ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. It was obvious that most of the people in the room had heard his name before. Otherwise, he would have earned almost 4,000 badass points just by Gaia revealing his identity. Only Samuel focused on the task on hand as he moved closer to Sabrina to empty the healing potion into her mouth. Wait, what if it dash? The same youngster who interrupted Michael shouted, but Samuel already emitted half of the potion into her mouth. It only took a couple of seconds for Sabrina's body to regain the rosiness. Samuel heaved a sigh of relief. Sabi. Just as Sabrina's body was turning from pale to fair, someone screamed her name. Michael turned his head to see a woman in her late 30s. Tears rolled out of her beautiful face. She came running to Sabrina's side. What happened to my Sabi? She shook Sabrina's shoulder. It had enough force as well as gentleness. Mom, Sabrina slowly opened her eyes. Out of nowhere, Sabrina lunged at her mother, hugging her tightly. Sabrina too sobbed continuously without giving a damn about the audience. Although she was a brave girl, she almost died back at the maple forest, which really shook her to the core. Young master, what happened back there? Captain Giles asked Michael. Everyone quickly turned their gazes from Sabrina to Michael, curiously looking at him for his answer. It was Alden. Alden Bellwatch. Sabrina's voice contained a mix of shock and anger. Alden Bellwatch? The heir of House Bellwatch? Captain Giles asked while the people in the room seemed stunned. Knowing he could earn badass points by telling them what happened at the maple forest, Michael started to explain how he saved Sabrina without coming out neither too braggy nor too humble. The events unraveled back at the maple forest sent chills running through everyone's spines. The old butler almost looked like he was about to have a heart attack. His body shivered, not because of the cold but because of the thought of losing Sabrina, the little princess of the Winston family. Michael could tell Samuel is blaming himself for everything that happened, but Michael didn't give a damn. All he wanted was to milk as much as badass points from these people and bug Noah's room. Nightmare's actions may have brought him an opportunity, but it might also put him in danger if Alden had someone behind him, someone dangerous. Sobby. What happened to you? Another 3 shouts sounded in the room as 3 women in their early 40s or late 30s entered the room. They ignored everyone else, running directly towards Sabrina. Auntie. Soon, Sabrina got embraced by the 3 ladies. Thank you so much, young master. Samuel grabbed Michael's hand, shaking it frantically with both hands. It was true that Samuel held a bit of a grudge because Ghost was a better alchemist than his young master, Noah. However, at this moment, all the grudge in his heart towards Ghost vanished away and was replaced with gratefulness. Samuel couldn't even imagine what would have happened to Sabrina if Ghost did not appear when he did. He also felt grateful for the baby dragon sitting on his shoulder. No need to thank me, but please be careful next time. Michael patted Samuel's shoulder before turning his gaze towards Gaia. Elia, let's go. Michael began to walk out, expecting Samuel to stop him. Young master, please. Just as he expected, Samuel called out to him, stopping him in his way. You saved out young Miss life. Please let us show our gratitude. While Michael was pretending to be thinking about how he could politely decline his offer, one of the 3 ladies who just recently arrived came to him. The lady had a resemblance with the woman who came first. She looked at Michael, her eyes were filled with tears and gratitude. She grabbed Michael's hands, squeezing them. Thank you so much. Just as the lady was expressing her gratitude, Sabrina and the 3 ladies, including her mother, came to Michael. The lady who came first looked directly into his eyes. She seemed tired, a line of black circles occupied her skin under her eyes. Surprisingly, she took Michael's face in her soft hands, like a mother grabbing her child's face. Thank you. Ever since he said he saved Sabrina, everyone was thanking him, but nothing felt more genuine than the words escaped her mouth. Compared to her, even Samuel's words seemed fake. She gently brushed his hair. You saved our family's happiness. Michael did not expect such a gesture from the woman, but he couldn't help feeling a warmth in his heart. Both in his previous life or the current one, he never felt a mother's love. This was the closest he got to a mother's love. The woman in front of him was looking at him like she was looking at her own son. Just as he emerged in wonder, his instincts screamed at him as he saw one of the guards behind Captain Giles drawing out a jade dagger from his waist. Watch out. Michael embraced Diana before turning around, showing his back at the guard. The next moment, Michael's responsive shield kicked in, yet he felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. Lady Diana. Diana. Intruder. Ghost. The room was thrown into chaos when the guard suddenly drew his weapon, trying to kill Diana. The guard was trained, extremely trained, as he was faster than everyone else in the room except Michael. Him drawing his dagger to plunge it into Michael's shoulder happened in just a few seconds. Even though the responsive shield absorbed most of the force behind the guard's stab, it still penetrated the shield, stabbing Michael in the shoulder because the guard was at the body strengthening stage level 7. Gaia lunged at the guard, radiating overwhelming killing intent that pushed away many people in the room. The guard took out his dagger from Michael's shoulder to stab him again, but Michael was faster. He protected Diana in one hand and grabbed the guard in the other. The guard may have managed to stab him the first time, but Michael wasn't going to give him a second chance. Ignitia, golden bolts of lightning emerged from Michael's hand that was around the guard's neck. Pop. The guard's scream abruptly stopped when his head exploded into a red mist like a watermelon. Ding. Congratulations to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage level 7 cultivator. The reward is 28,000 experience points and 1,500 badass points. Aw. Mother. Diana, Lady Diana. Various shouts sounded in Michael's head as his hands still tightly wrapped around Diana. Only after the guards drew their weapons out and confirmed there were no more assassins in the room, Michael released Diana, but bolts of lightning still danced around his hand, making crackling electricity noise. The sudden change of events stunned Nightmare. After seeing a human plunging his dagger into Ghost, Nightmare's heart rapidly pounded against his chest. But Gaia's heartbeat felt like it wanted to jump out from her chest. The whole room was dead silent for a few moments before the three ladies who seemed to be Diana's sisters surrounded her. Lady Diana, are you all right? Diana, are you hurt? Who dared to attack the Lady of Winston family? Guards. While everyone's in shock, Gaia leaped at him, checking him as her eyes began to well up. Human, it's okay, Michael reassured Gaia. Nightmare was still in shock as no words came out of his mouth. I'm fine, Diana was still shivering, yet she let out a smile and came to check on Michael. You're bleeding. Michael turned his gaze from Gaia to Diana when he heard the gentle-looking lady scream. Before even Michael could notice his bleeding shoulder, Diana tore a piece of cloth from the cape hanging from her behind. She frantically wrapped the cloth around his left shoulder. It was my fault. Tears rained down from her eyes. Many who came out of the shock were surprised to see this gesture. The lady of the Winston family tore her expensive dress to tend to a total stranger's wound. Samuel quickly glanced at the house guards, wordlessly telling them to escort everyone except the closest family members outside. Diana forgot about everything, including Sabrina's close death experience, as her mind went blank seeing the blood coming out of this youngster's shoulder. Michael could easily drink the healing potion and heal his wound, but he was already being led to Sabrina's bed by Diana. Lady Diana, I'm fine. Michael was surprised by her motherly love. The affection, the motherly love in her eyes were genuine and pure. For the first time in his two lives, he was experiencing a mother's love. You're not. She yelled at him, again like a mother. Chapter 191. Realizing the woman has lost all reasoning because of shock, Gaia retrieved a healing potion from her space ring. Here, take it. Gaia sat on Michael's other side, handing him over the healing potion. He was sandwiched between a loving mother and a caring girlfriend. Come here. While Nightmare was gawking at Diana, Sabrina plucked him up from Michael's shoulder. Nightmare seemed he's still in shock as no words escaped his mouth to protest. Lady Diana, I'm all right. Look, the bleeding stopped, Michael told her again. Even without his control, his voice sounded extremely gentle. Samuel, bring me healer Adele. Diana frantically shook her head, refusing to let go of his hand. Yes, Lady Diana, Michael sighed. He initially wanted to spend a few hours here so he could release the spiders into the house, but now he realized that Diana is going to make him stay here for at least a few days. You must be tired after everything that happened. Come on, sweetie, I'll make something for you to eat. You too, sweetheart, Diana said, locking her arms with Michael's. She then smiled beautifully at Gaia before playfully pinching Gaia's rosy butterball of a cheek. Meet my sweet mother. Sabrina finally let out a chuckle, neglecting what happened a few hours ago. Mushroom soup, bitter greens with tomatoes the size of peas, rare roast beef slices as thin as paper, noodles in a green sauce, cheese that melts on one's tongue served with sweet blue grapes. The servers, all young people dressed in white thick tunics with layers of fur, move wordlessly to and from the table, keeping the platters and glasses full. When Diana said she's going to make something to eat, Michael didn't expect she would prepare a frickin' feast. After seeing the various delicious-looking dishes on the table, Gaia's face lightened up a bit. The aroma radiating from the dishes overwhelmed both the dragon and the snake's senses. They couldn't wait to dig into the food, but they had to wait for everyone to seat themselves at the table. It was a long oak table that could easily let 30 people dine on. The throne-looking chair at the front of the table was empty, which obviously belonged to the lord of the family. Diana seated herself next to Michael, acting like a personal maid to him. Fortunately, Michael's plate did not have enough space to contain all the dishes Diana personally cooked. Lady Diana, are you planning to kill me with food? Michael chuckled only to receive a slap on the wrist from Diana. Noah is a really lucky guy. Michael stared at everyone at the table. The dining room was filled with laughter. Everyone seemed to forget what happened earlier and immersed themselves in nothing but happiness. Except for the youngster who stopped Michael earlier, everyone was extremely friendly towards Michael, Gaia, and the little dragon. So Ghost, what's your plan on Kethan? Diana's elder sister, Imelda, asked. Just like Diana, Imelda, and her younger sister, Natalia too had golden hair. Although the three ladies were laughing happily, Michael noticed a tinge of sorrow buried deep within Natalia's eyes. Every time Natalia's eyes fell on the chair Nightmare was sitting on, the sorrow became more obvious. Her smile would instantly disappear from her face for a moment as her eyes slightly welled up. Natalia did a good job wiping out the tears from the corners of her eyes, but Michael noticed this without Natalia noticing him. The three beautiful women were so graceful that they could make anyone respect them in a matter of seconds. We're attending the weekend auction in Ice Fair, Michael answered, placing the spook and the knife on the plate. Buying or selling? Imelda questioned him. Let him eat in peace, Ami, Diana playfully yelled at her sister. Selling, but if something interesting comes across, I might buy it, Michael answered with a smile. How's the food, Elia, Nightmare? Diana asked. Nightmare was surprisingly good at maintaining table manners. He did not eat like a wild beast at the dining table but used his claws to pick the meat from the plate and ate almost like a human. Good, Lady Diana. Nightmare had a good impression on Lady Diana. He politely answered her, although it was nowhere close to the cooking of Raylene. Good, Gaia answered Diana, taking a bite of the mushroom fry. Good. Auntie Diana's cooking is the best. The same youngster rolled his eyes, making a few people at the table awkwardly smile because of his tone. It's that they used to eat Raylene's cooking, Lady Diana. She's a 5-star chef. Oh, what? A 5-star chef? It took several seconds for Imelda to realize the meaning of Michael's words. You are all welcome to the opening of our restaurant. Michael gave them an invitation as it would increase the reputation of his establishment quickly. Of course, we will. Now would you like some roasted pulse tetra? Do I have a choice, Lady Diana? No, the laughter continued as they all talked about some boring things which Michael answered with either a smile or a nod. He's just like Noah, isn't he? Imelda asked Diana as Gaia almost coughed up the food in her mouth. Michael was the last thing one could compare to Noah. Except your choice in dress colors, am I right, Samuel? Yes, Lady Imelda. Young Master Noah likes to wear white, whereas young Master Ghost seemed to favor black, the old butler said before stepping towards Michael with a bottle of wine. Water is enough for me. I don't drink wine, ale, or any kind of liquor. Michael surprised everyone at the table yet again. They all stared at him like he spoke some forbidden words. You don't drink liquor? Sabrina asked. Surprise and disbelief were written all over her face. Yes, bad for the body and hinder your cultivation speed. As a 5-star alchemist, Michael knew all about a cultivator's body. It was a lucky coincidence that his non-drinking habit was actually a good thing for his current life, as liquors affected the body, obstructing the energy paths in one's body, resulting in a slow cultivation level. That might be the reason for your cultivation speed, huh? Sabrina said. Michael could tell the girl had just taken a note in her mind and expected her to follow his habit from this day onwards. If you don't mind me asking, what are you planning to sell? Imelda seemed to like asking questions. A few herbs like cold grass, seaweed, ravenflower. Natalia almost screamed. Everyone's gaze fell on Natalia as Michael noticed a glimpse of sorrow emerge on Diana's face. Yes, Michael's voice trailed off. Natalia, we already have a ravenflower, remember? Diana asked as Natalia sighed. It's just that my nephew has fallen sick to starpox. We had to scour through the kingdom to find the raven flower. If only Lord Gabriel accepts to brew the phoenix potion, Imelda sighed. Michael noticed Diana open and close her mouth as she had something to ask. He had already guessed what that would be, but he wanted them to ask rather than offering his help. Sweetie, can you? However, Michael's heart completely melted before even she could ask for his help. She had this weird effect on him ever since he saw her. He couldn't bear to see the woman he just met a couple of hours ago plead. You don't need Gabriel to brew the Phoenix potion. I can brew it in my sleep. The whole room fell silent after the words escaped his words. Natalia's face lightened up. She immediately stood from her chair before running to Michael. Can you? Natalia squeezed his palms. Gaia's jaw slightly dropped. She wondered what made her selfish human offer his help like candies. First, he almost risked his life to save Diana, and now, he was about to help save Natalia's son. Their main plan was to bug Noah's room, but she could tell he was deviating from the plan. Have you got all the ingredients? Yes, young master, we got everything one needs to brew the potion. Wait, we only got enough ingredients to brew a potion. What if he messed up? I trust him, Jacob. For the first time, Michael saw the gentle-looking Diana turning into a domineering woman. The smile on her face was replaced with a stern look. Her sharp gaze seemed like it could cut anything in half. How can we trust this guy? Jacob protested, but this time his tone was not as loud and rude as before. It's that or waiting for Gabriel to accept your request. I think I don't have to tell you about the star pox. Shut up, Jacob. Natalia snapped. All the grief buried within her exploded in the form of anger. It was not a secret that star pox would kill the infected in 3 months if left untreated. Only wealthy people like Noah's family had the resources or the gold to get the cure, the Phoenix potion. However, the potion was extremely reactive. It had to be used in a few minutes after brewing, or it would react with anything such as air and lose all of its medicinal quality. This was the reason that the Phoenix potion wouldn't be available in auction houses and needed to be brewed at the spot by an alchemist above 3-star level. Weirdly enough, Michael had a soft spot for the motherly lady, Diana. Only because of her, he decided to lend a helping hand instead of giving Jacob the middle finger. Chapter 192, Samuel. Bring him the ingredients. Diana quickly ordered the old butler before the situation could escalate further. Humph, Jacob snickered before storming out of the dining hall with a few of his lackeys following him behind. Jacob, let him go. Imelda. Diana grabbed Imelda by her hand when she tried to stop the youngster. The previous laughter in the hall was completely gone and replaced with silence. They had never seen their kind third lady snap like that. Even after her only son fell victim to star pox, she never showed the grief on her face, as she believed her family would do absolutely everything to save her son. It had been 2 months since her son was infected with star pox. If they didn't give him the Phoenix potion within the next 30 days, there was no doubt that she would lose her only son. Now, where is your son, Lady Natalia? Michael wondered why Jacob wants him gone as soon as possible. He didn't have to act that way. Michael had a feeling that Jacob is feeling threatened by his presence but couldn't find out why yet. This way, young master, enjoy the rest of the day, gentlemen, Diana announced, looking at the people in the dining hall. Knowing the meaning of her words, they all bowed and left the dining hall. Only the 3 ladies, Sabrina, Samuel accompanied Michael to Natalia's son's room. Considering there were no guards following them, Gaia retrieved a couple of spiders from her space ring before leaving them in dark corners of the corridor without anyone noticing. Except for Michael, none of them had a clue about the little spies in their home. After passing Sabrina's room and following Samuel for a few more minutes, Michael appeared before a door that had the name Andrew written on a dark brown oak door. Samuel opened the door to reveal an old woman was sitting on the bed. Beside the old woman, a blonde youngster sleeping peacefully. The old woman was applying a purple ornament on Andrew's forehead. Healer Adele. The old woman waved her hands at Imelda as she was telling all of them to scurry off. Healer Adele, we have found a 5-star alchemist, Samuel said. Only then the old woman turned her gaze away from Andrew. Soon, she locked eyes with Michael. The system notified Michael of her healer trait. Despite the disheveled hair and rather normal-looking clothes, Healer Adele was a core formation level 5 cultivator. A glimmer of surprise flashed across her face looking at Michael. Grandma, Sabrina ran to Adele like a puppy running to its owner. I heard what happened. I'm glad you're safe, Sabi. You should have listened to Samuel and took more men with you. Michael ignored their conversation, walking towards Andrew to check on him. His memories from Abras contained information about star pox, and the book of alchemy he used to become a 5-star alchemist made him understand not only star pox but all the diseases in this world. Except for his forehead that had purple ointment applied on, the rest of his body was pale. Tiny marks shaped like a star riddled his body. Furthermore, his body temperature was jumping between hot and cold. How pure will the potion be? Healer Adele asked while Michael was feeling Andrew's temperature by placing his hand on Andrew's neck. However, instead of giving a straight answer to Adele, he questioned her. How long has he been like this? It was obvious Andrew is infected with star pox, but when Michael checked his temperature, he sensed Andrew's abnormal pulses. A patient with star pox was supposed to have a slow pulse rate, but Andrew's pulse rate was abnormally high. For the last 2 months, and how long has he had this high pulse rate? He was really curious as his tone conveyed his curiosity. His pulse rate has been increasing since last month. Nightmare. You can see energy pathways inside a body, right? Check his energy pathways. What's happening to my Andrew? Hearing the conversation between Adele and Michael, Natalia's eyes rained down tears. Imelda and Diana wrapped their hands around her to console her. Nightmare flew towards Michael before comfortably landing on his shoulder. His black eyes then turned blue, staring at Andrew. Everyone except Natalia, who was sobbing looking at Andrew, stared at Nightmare for his answer. They had no idea about Nightmare's ability to see energy pathways in a cultivator's body. Even Michael had no clear idea about the extent of Nightmare's power. To learn more about dragons, he needed to travel to Azair, but for now, Michael had no desire to travel there. The room fell silent. All the eyes were on Nightmare, expecting him to speak up. Energy clusters are forming inside his body, blocking the arch energy from circulating his body. What does it mean? It was not Natalia but Diana who questioned Nightmare. Her voice stuttered and her eyes welled up. Healer Adele frowned, but before she could speak, Michael needed to do one more thing before drawing the conclusion. Lady Diana, I need Daydream Bearberry, Putrid Belladonna, and Blistering Berry. I will tell you why later. I will get them to you, young master. Samuel left the room. These were all common ingredients found in any noble household, as they were used to treat common colds, flu, and wounds. You think? Healer Adele, however, knew why he was asking for those 3 herbs. Her voice trailed off. She didn't think of that particular possibility before. What's happening to him? Gaia came to his side and whispered in his ears. Michael didn't answer her but waited for Samuel to arrive. Soon, the old butler entered the room, carrying a tray with the 3 herbs on it. I need some space, Michael said. They quickly walked away from him to the corner of the room without asking any questions. They wanted to, but they chose not to, except for Sabrina. What are you planning to do? You will see, Michael would have answered her, but he planned to show off his alchemy skills to earn more badass points from them. If he told them what he's about to do, they would be more focused on that rather than being awestruck by his skills. The green flames emerged from his hand, lightening the entire room in green. He then waved his other hand as the herbs flew straight into the flames. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,200 badass points. He was laughing inside happily, seeing the increase in badass points. Diana and everyone were stunned to see him brew a potion without the help of the cauldron. He showed them that he's on the next level compared to Noah. Grandma, how is he? Sabrina's jaw dropped in shock. She questioned Adele. Even Gabriel can't do this. The old woman's voice was not loud, but it was loud enough for everyone to hear. Seeing that Adele addressed Gabriel by his first name without any honorifics, Michael realized that Adele might know him personally. He snickered inside because after establishing connections with more powerhouses, he would show his true potential to the world. At that time, Gabriel wouldn't be the #1 alchemist of Elon anymore, he would be the second. After today's events, he was positive that the House of Winston would support him. After all, he saved not only Sabrina but also Diana from getting assassinated in her own house. Soon afterward, a sky blue liquid formed inside the green flames. If this potion changed its color from blue to green, Michael's voice trailed off. He looked at Adele to finish his sentence. He was poisoned, as Michael expected. Healer Adele finished his sentence. Poisoned? Healer Adele, what are you talking about? No. The room was filled with the cries of the three ladies. Sabrina had an expression of shock and disbelief on her face. Michael waved his hand, sending the sky blue liquid towards Andrew before they could ask any questions to him. He was almost certain that Andrew was poisoned and wanted to confirm his suspicion. The Winstons were already in his debt, and by saving him, he would not only earn badass points but could also increase their trust. Since the House of Winston was the most powerful family in Penn Town, he wanted them as allies. He planned to use them to expand his business empire. The sky blue liquid spread itself on Andrew's body like a blanket. Natalia prayed to the gods, asking them the potion to stay blue. She did not want to face the reality that her son might be poisoned. However, the gods betrayed her as the sky blue potion slowly turned from blue to jade green. Diana and Imelda's hearts skipped a beat seeing the transformation. He was poisoned, Adele was startled. If it was the star pox, she knew a talented 5-star alchemist like him could brew the Phoenix potion to save Andrew. However, on top of star pox, Andrew was poisoned. This made healing Andrew a lot more complicated. Natalia fainted on the spot. She couldn't bear to face this new reality. Everyone was so stunned that they failed to notice the grin on Gaia's face. She was already planning to ask for a permit to open businesses in Penn Town without any taxes. By saving Sabrina and Diana, they could most probably earn the permit, but if Michael could cure Andrew, there was no doubt that they would receive the permit. Little by little, she felt less annoyed with Nightmare because if it wasn't for him sticking his nose into Sabrina's business, it would have been difficult to get into Winston compound, bug their house and earn the permit to operate any business without paying a single gold coin. Plus, when Noah heard about Ghost saving his family twice in a single day, he would feel indebted to him. This might help Michael in the long run. Chapter 193, Sweetie, you can cure him, right? Diana wiped off the tears that were running out of her eyes. Michael was not a soft-hearted guy, but when he saw the pain, grief, and helplessness in Natalia's eyes, helping this helpless mother became his main objective, and taking advantage of the situation became secondary. First, we need to find what kind of poison is in his body. A wrong antidote could complicate the situation further. Michael did not say kill him for the sake of Natalia, but everyone could tell he was sugarcoating it. Lady Diana, this is not a coincidence. First Alden tried to kill Sabrina and another one tried to assassinate you on the same day. Someone really wants to hurt your family, but Alden is dead, right? Sabrina asked. Honestly, the three ladies were in denial of the assassination attempt on Diana. However, Michael's words shattered their wall of denial. Where are the men? Gaia asked. She noticed that the majority of the people in the house were women and children, and Diana seemed to be the authority. Gaia wondered where Diana's and the other two ladies' husbands were. My husband and my brothers-in-law were summoned by Duke Slade, along with most of our soldiers. Is there a war going on that we don't know about? Yes. Duke Marvin is at war with Duke Avon, Sabrina answered Gaia as everything made sense to Michael. Since House Winston sent most of their manpower to accompany the Duke Marvin war, it became the perfect time to seek revenge by killing the people in the compound. They were basically sitting ducks to be slaughtered at this point. Michael really questioned the competence of Diana's husband because it was pretty dumb to leave his family unprotected like this. Noah should take care of his family before taking care of others, Michael thought in his mind. We'll be safer after young Miss Rowena and young Master Noah arrive. When will that be? Michael wanted to leave the place before Noah came. Michael did not like the company Noah keeps, especially Alicia. Besides, if Noah brought Sonali with him, it might jeopardize Gaia's safety. He wasn't going to take any chances when it came to Gaia's safety. Healer Adele, can you find what kind of poison in his body? Sabrina asked Adele, but the old woman shook her head. The poison might have already mixed with Andrew's blood. It'd be damn hard to find it now, no. Andrew. Natalia began to scream. Her cry reverberated the entire compound. If I were you, I would start rounding up my enemies who have the motive to hurt my family, Gaia said. Uncle Samuel, get me a team. I'll hunt down all our enemies. Like she learned nothing from today's events, Sabrina volunteered for this task. No. Well, ask Captain Giles to do that. Diana immediately rejected Sabrina. But Mom, no buts. Yet again, Diana raised her voice, stomping the ground. Sabrina halted her steps in shock and didn't choose to test her mother's patience. Please, save my son, Natalia stuttered, sobbing in grief. I need to be alone to find a way. Michael did know a way to identify the poison in Andrew's body, but he wanted to take time to heal him because he trusted his instincts. Michael then stepped towards Natalia and squatted in front of her to take her hands. I will save your son. He then whipped off the tears running from her eyes. He was not a goody two-shoes who would help out anyone, but something about this family made him help them. Something deep down of him couldn't let this family suffer. There was still no doubt that Michael would kill Noah in a heartbeat if he stood in Michael's path, but Michael really wished he didn't. Besides, by helping this family, he could build a good Samaritan reputation that would hide his Lucifer persona. After all, many wouldn't suspect a good doer to be an evildoer in the night. Thank you, the three ladies said in unison as Samuel stepped forward to lead Michael to his room. Where did this bastard come from? Jacob was shouting at a figure wearing a cloak to hide their face. The veins on Jacob's face seemed like they were about to explode. He was shaking and walking from one end of his room to another. It doesn't matter. Alden is dead. We need to find another way to get what we want, the hooded figure said, taking off his clout to reveal himself. I know that, Giles. Alden is fucking idiot who lost all his reasons after Noah killed his family. I said I could kill Andrew without all that Starpox nonsense, but no, he said he wanted Noah's family to suffer. Captain Giles listened to Jacob's rant, stroking his beard. Now that he's gone, I can finish off Andrew before that ghost bastard cures him and moves on to kill Noah. Then, I will be the next lord of the family. Don't forget our deal, Jacob. My employer wants Diana dead. What's your employer's beef with that bitch anyway? I don't know the exact reason, but I can tell it's something to do with Noah. Of course it is. That bastard runs around pissing off the powerhouses, making more enemies to House Winston. He's more trouble than what he's worth. Jacob's face turned red as a fresh tomato in anger. Ever since they were little, Noah always overshadowed him by overachieving in pretty much everything. It was the sight of the girl he loved with Noah that snapped Jacob. When he first laid his eyes on the red-haired beauty, he immediately fell in love only to realize that she was a guardian who came to Pentown accompanying Noah. Jacob never expected the red-haired beauty to fall in love with Noah. Although they acted like they were just friends, Jacob wasn't a naive kid to believe they were just friends. The tension between Noah and the red-haired beauty was obvious to him. Jacob now wanted to kill Noah and take over the family before the elders name him the next in line for the family head seat. Who was that guy who tried to kill Diana today? That was a dumb move, Giles. I think it was Alden's backup plan to hurt Noah. Good thing that ghost guy killed him instantly without capturing him alive. Giles heaved a sigh of relief. What are you gonna do about Andrew? I'd say let him be. He won't be alive in a month anyways. Jacob frantically shook his head, taking out a small vial of purple glistening liquid. I have a feeling Ghost might be able to save him. I want both Noah and Andrew to die. Only then I can get what I want without killing most of the elders. Is that the same venom you used to poison Andrew? Yes. If it wasn't for Alden asking me to use only a few drops, I would have used the entire bottle and killed Andrew 2 months ago. A devilish grin appeared on Jacob's face. What about the Phoenix potion? Didn't Alden say giving Andrew the Phoenix poison was equal to killing him? Yeah, the potion and this poison would react in some sort of weird way, killing Andrew horribly, then let Ghost brew the potion? Why did you try to stop him earlier? Look what happened now. That fucking bastard found out Andrew's poison and currently making something to save Andrew. If he hadn't seen Andrew or tried to brew Phoenix potion, they wouldn't have found the truth. Now I have to finish the job. How do you plan to do that? Don't worry about that, Giles. I can poison Andrew in front of Natalia and she wouldn't even notice. Giles saw a glimmer emerge in Jacob's hand. He looked closer to see a tiny needle come out of the ring in Jacob's middle finger. The needle quickly retracted itself back into the ring as Jacob willed. Few more drops of poison would do the trick, Jacob grinned, pouring the purple venom a few drops at a time onto his hand. The ring in his hand glimmered again before absorbing the venom into itself. I knew something was off about that guy. Inside the room given to Michael by the Winstons, he and Gaia were watching Jacob and Gaia through the mirror connected to the spiders. Stupid fuck. If you want to kill someone, you shouldn't draw all attention to yourself. Gaia shook her head like she was disappointed in Jacob. It was Jacob's stupidity of messing with Michael that made Michael send a few spiders to his room. If Jacob had just stayed silent all the time, Michael wouldn't have suspected him in the first place. Although we know about Jacob and Giles, we can't go accuse them unless we say that yeah, we bugged your entire house. Only people like Guardians need evidence, Gaia. People like us, we create evidence. Michael took out a paper and quill from his space ring to forge a letter that was supposed to be from Captain Giles to Jacob, implying all the information needed for the Winstons to suspect both of them. Michael didn't worry about Guileless' mysterious employer because that was not his problem, it was Noah. After all, although Michael had a soft spot for this family, he knew he can't always be there to save them. Who knows, if he was lucky, he could get a gift from the system when he cured Andrew. He did get one when he saved Raylene and the children. Chapter 194, You look cute, Michael said, squatting down to brush Gaia's head. She was in her miniature snake form. Her scales were glimmering in violet, two round eyes with vertical slit pupils stared at Michael. In Michael's eyes, she resembled a king cobra of Earth, only she was violet and 1.5 meters long. I'm not cute, she hissed, but Michael surprised her with a kiss on her snake head. For me, you are. Michael already put the letter in his interlinked space ring so she could access the letter when she reached Jacob's room. Then, he took out a colorless liquid and poured the liquid all over her body. You're wet, he blinked at her, letting out a playful smile. And you are a pervert, she hissed again before leaving the room towards Jacob's. A few minutes after Gaia left the room, Nightmare flew through the opened window to Michael's shoulder. I checked the surroundings, no intruders in the vicinity. It's better to be safe than sorry. Michael patted Nightmare on the head. He then just sat on his bed waiting for Gaia to finally put his plan in motion. While sitting on his bed, he could see the shadows flicker outside the room through the gap under the door. It was obvious either one of the three ladies was waiting for him outside his room. Ignoring the person outside his room, he began to control the spiders to move to every room in the manor. From today onwards, if anything happens in Noah's home, Michael would know it sooner than Noah himself. He did not have a clear idea about what he could learn from bugging Noah's home, but he hoped that he would get some valuable information on Guardians. After a few minutes of waiting, the violet snake slowly advanced into the room through the opened windows before transforming into her human form. She then looked at him, giving him a thumbs up with a wide grin on her face. Everything's in place, but before we go out, we need to decide what should we ask in return for what we did to them. What do you have in mind? Michael asked as Nightmare stared at her curiously. He could tell her by looking at her face that she already has something in her mind. License to open businesses in Penn Town with no taxes. Free permits from the Winstons. Although Michael had no plans to open any business in Penn Town, he knew getting these free permits would greatly help him in the future. Until now, he had no need for permits as Rivertown is said to have belonged to the Sunrise sect. Therefore, he didn't pay any taxes to Baron Totonk except a small percentage of the profits to the sect. The only source of income for the Sunrise sect was this small percentage they got from the Majestic. However, this would soon change when they merged with the Broad River sect. Don't ask them before they ask what we need, Michael said. Alright, Gaia knew they would try to repay Michael's kindness somehow, and when they try, she would ask for free permits. Let's go. With a plan to end both Giles and Jacob's lives, Michael walked towards the door. Sweetie, the moment Michael opened the door, he saw Diana waiting for him with Imelda and Natalia. The three ladies leaned towards him, expecting his answer. I have found a way to save Andrew, but we need to act quickly. Thank the gods. Diana and Imelda heaved a sigh of relief as Natalia shed tears of joy. Lead the way, Michael gestured at Diana with a smile as she frantically nodded before walking towards Andrew's room. On his way to Andrew's room, he saw a large group of guards gathered at the hall on the first floor. Sabrina was standing in front of them and seemed to coordinate with the guards. When Michael opened Andrew's room, Samuel was covering Andrews with a thick wool bed sheet to prevent the cold from seeping into his body. Sitting on the bed beside Andrews, healer Adele was applying an ointment on Andrew's forehead. The pungent smell of the ointment overwhelmed Gaia's sensors in her nose to make her frown. Yet, she controlled herself from complaining about the smell. "Young master, have you?" The old butler's voice trailed, but when he saw Michael nod his head, Samuel's face brightened up. "I'm going to use an ancient method here, so I'd appreciate it if you all kept this as a secret," except for healer Adele, who creased her brown bushy brows. Everyone in the room nodded in agreement. He noticed healer Adele's expression but didn't give a shit because he just said that to make what he was about to do more dramatic. "Don't panic, I need to take some blood from his body," Natalia nodded as he said, staring directly at her. "Elia, dagger." Gaia retrieved the silver dagger from inside her winter coat and handed it over to him. Michael then made a small cut in Andrew's right palm before placing an empty vial to collect the blood. They saw him add a few other herbs into the vial with the blood and conjure the green alchemy flames. The blood and the herbs he added started to change color under the heat provided by the flames. Soon, the blood red transformed into a pale golden color. When thrown into the air, this potion will lead us to the nearest source that contains the poison in his body. If I can get my hands on the poison's purest form, I can use it to brew the antidote, and then, the Phoenix potion will cure him of the star pox as it should. As they were staring at his potion, he waved the vial as the potion inside splashed into the air. However, the gravity couldn't get the potion to hit the ground, but the pale golden liquid floated in the air before slowly forming a trail from the room towards outside. The trail soon began to sparkle in the air like millions of tiny fireflies leading them towards something. They were all stunned by the sight, even healer Adele's mouth slightly opened in surprise. She had never heard of such a method nor a potion, but she knew the world is full of mysteries and new things. Therefore, she stood up from the bed, following the light trail behind Michael and the ladies. The trail is glowing brighter than I expected," Michael said, rubbing his chin. "What does it mean?" Imelda asked. "It means the source is closer." They followed the light trail through the corridors to the front lawn. The guards who saw the sudden change in the air were tensed up, but Diana waved her hands nonchalantly, gesturing to calm down. Soon afterward, Sabrina joined the group to follow the light trail as she asked about the light trail from Adele. Jacob's room was located on the far end of the first floor. To reach his room, one had to go through the hall passing several rooms. All of them expected the light trail to go through the door leading them outside, but surprisingly, the light trail took a turn going towards the elders' rooms. "What's happening?" Imelda asked in surprise. Though the others didn't utter a word, Gaia could see the shock in their faces. Fortunately, when Gaia went to Jacob's room in her snake form, there weren't many guards inside the house to notice a snake. She also had to thank the man or the woman who decorated the house with countless tables, flower vases, and sofas that provided her with the much-needed cover to finish her task without getting detected. Why is the light trail going into Jacob's room? Everyone was thinking about it, but it was Sabrina who spoke her mind. This was a question that only Michael, Gaia, and Nightmare knew the answer for because Michael planned it in the first place. Weird, Michael pretended to be surprised. "If my guess is correct, the poison source is close. Look at the brightness of the light trail. I guess the source is inside the house." Gaia folded her arms against her chest confidently. Diana and Imelda's faces lost their colors. They were bewildered about the light trail. Michael followed the light trail until he reached Jacob's door. Standing in front of the door, Michael could sense the fluctuations of arch-energy in the surroundings, indicating Jacob has been cultivating. "Lady Diana," Michael said, taking a step back from the door. "Jacob." Diana knocked on the door, calling his name. Jacob opened the door. Coming, after a few more knocks on the door, they heard Jacob's annoyed voice. When Jacob opened the door, his annoyed expression quickly turned into a somewhat surprised expression. Jacob took a brief moment to stare at everyone standing outside his door and noticed the light trail leading up to the middle of his room. "Auntie, what's going on here?" Jacob frowned. "Ghost," Diana called out to Michael. She had no idea how the poison in Andrew's body could be found in Jacob's room. "It's here, Lady Diana. Unless you have another way of saving Andrews, we can't turn back without searching this room." "What? Search my room?" Jacob was already annoyed at Ghost for hindering his plans, and when he heard that he wanted to search the room, Jacob snapped. However, Jacob could only raise his voice while making a fist because Jacob knew as a body-strengthening level 3 warrior, he had no chance of winning against a core formation warrior like Ghost. Since Ghost had already saved Sabrina and Diana, Jacob knew that the Winstons would definitely protect him even if his father wanted to take any action against Ghost. "Step aside, Jacob," Sabrina pushed Jacob away before entering the room. "I hope you know what you're doing, Ghost," Sabrina said. Chapter 195, What is this light and why are you searching my room? Jacob tried to stop them but Sabrina had already shoved him aside and entered the room. Following Sabrina, Michael, Gaia, and everyone standing outside the door entered Jacob's room, ignoring his angry shouts. Sabrina followed the light trail in Jacob's room to a small 2 feet tall mahogany cupboard beside his bed. "Auntie, are you going to tell me what's going on here?" Jacob scowled at Diana. "It depends on what we find here, Jacob," Diana replied flatly. Since Jacob was little, Diana knew he was always the problem child in the family. He would always get into trouble as his father had to bail him out every time. His behavior worsened for the last few months for some unknown reason. Last month he almost killed a strumpet by beating her to death. If not for Noah saving the poor girl and healing her in time, she would have died. Diana could recall dozens of incidents like this in just a few seconds. Although she didn't want to believe it, it wouldn't be a surprise if Jacob had something to do with the poison. If he did something to do with poisoning Andrews, Diana would personally send him into the dungeon before trying him at a family trial. "Humph, go ahead. Search all you want," Jacob snickered before folding his arms in anger. "The light trail ends near that cupboard," Michael pointed at the small cupboard to Sabrina. Still, there was no change on Jacob's face as he knew they wouldn't find anything in his room that would incriminate him. Sabrina opened the drawer, searching through the contents such as potions, combs, scrolls, and usual stuff that a cultivator would have. She almost closed the drawer before she noticed a glimmer of light coming from under all this stuff. She rummaged through the items to find the light coming from a letter that had no writings on the outside. Jacob was so busy staring at Ghost, he failed to notice the veins under Sabrina's face popping out. Her eyes instantly turned red as one could hear the sound of her gritting teeth. Shock and disbelief occupied her face. "What is it, Sabi?" Imelda asked after sensing the killing intent radiating from Sabrina's body. The killing intent was so intense that it instantly drew Jacob's attention towards her. He noticed Sabrina standing near the cupboard like she was nailed to the ground, slightly trembling. "Jacob, everything is in place to kill that bitch Sabrina. Make sure it looks like a bandit attack." Sabrina began to read the letter out loud. Her words stunned everyone, including Jacob. "After killing Sabrina, Alden ordered me to bring an assassin into your home to kill Diana. I'll tell you the details when we meet next. Also, keep the poison you used to poison Andrew safe. We might need it to kill Noah." Nightmare expected someone to interrupt or ask something but all they did was stand there speechlessly. He almost rolled his eyes when he noticed Gaia pretending to be thoroughly shocked. He had to give it to the snake for her acting skills. "Victory shall be ours, Giles." "What? What is that?" Jacob's body began to shiver after Sabrina finished reading the letter. He had zero clues about how or when a letter like this reached his room. "I don't know anything about that letter." "It's not true," Jacob shouted. Even the eyes of Samuel contained a tinge of killing intent hidden within. "So that's why you want me gone, huh?" Michael asked to fan the flames of Sabrina's anger, so she would start attacking him. Just like he planned, she lunged at him, conjuring arch-energy around her fist. Although she was just a body-refining stage cultivator, she was extremely quick as Jacob didn't have time to react before she punched him in the chest as hard as she could. If the letter had anyone's name except Jacob's, she would have at least doubted the words on the letter, but when it comes to Jacob, she completely believed the letter. Her anger overwhelmed her brain as she almost forgot about guileless betrayal. Ah! Since Jacob did not conjure arch-energy in time to protect himself, the force of the punch broke a few ribs and sent him flying onto the wall behind him. Ask him where the poison is before you vent your anger on him, Michael reminded Sabrina. Sobby. Jacob, you little bastard. Even Imelda, the kind-looking lady, lost her composure when it came to Jacob. It was really funny to Michael how they all completely believed the letter he fabricated. Yet, if Jacob wanted to blame someone, he had to blame himself for being an asshole. Lady Diana. Soon, the commotion brought the guards patrolling around the house. They saw their young miss drawing her sword as Jacob growling on the ground. I know nothing about that letter. Jacob wanted to tear Sabrina into pieces, but he knew attacking her only made him look guiltier. Plus, the guards would rather attack him with Sabrina than protect him because he has a history of abusing the guards. Give me your space ring, Sabrina spoke with powerful killing intent. If Jacob truly had nothing to hide, he would have given the space ring to her, except he really had a vial of basilisk venom that he used on Andrew in his space ring as well as the needle ring on his left hand. No. This is atrocious. I have nothing to do with anything that letter mentioned. The young master has nothing to worry about. Give your space ring to young miss and clear your name, Samuel said, waving his hand at the guards to stay put. Paralyzing wave. Suddenly, a wave of amethyst-colored wind hit Jacob. When the wave hit Jacob, his entire body froze as they all turned to see Natalia standing beside Diana with her hands reaching out at Jacob. Take his space ring. Natalia's usual soft, gentle voice now sounded full of rage. Her golden hair fluttered in the cold wind, making her look domineering and powerful. Everyone who saw her like this was stunned. Among the three ladies, Natalia was the calmest and kind soul. They had never seen her angry until now. Sabrina swiftly took the space ring from Jacob's finger while he frantically rolled his eyes. He could not move a muscle in his body. Michael expected Sabrina to ask his help for breaking the seal on the space ring, but she surprised him when she broke the seal using a spell. The next moment, a bunch of scrolls, ale bottles, swords, potions, and gold coins appeared on the ground. All of them were inside his space ring a moment ago. Michael looked at all the items on the ground before his gaze landed on a dark purple vial among the potions. What do we have here? Michael made his way to the vial and picked it up. Is that basilisk venom? Healer Adele quickly recognized the venom. A few gasps sounded from the guards. Most of them obviously heard about basilisk. The mere thought of the monster sent a chill running through their spines. Yes, this is the venom used to poison Andrews. After pretending to be studying the venom, Michael exclaimed. Explain why you have this poison in your space ring, Jacob, Diana asked, gently pushing Natalia's hands down to release Jacob from the spell. I. So it's true, you were plotting to kill me and my mom. Wait. But Jacob's cry had no effect on Sabrina as she charged at him again, curling up her fist. She punched him in the face. Did you hear that? Yes, young Master Jacob was trying to murder Lady Diana and young Miss Sabrina. Young Master Noah and young Miss Rowena is going to shred him to pieces. It was fortunate that we had Ghost to save Lady Diana in time. The guards began to chatter among themselves. The guards didn't know what was written on the letter, and those who knew didn't utter a word. They wanted to capture and interrogate Giles without alerting him. Samuel still couldn't completely believe that Captain Giles was plotting with Jacob to harm the Winstons. However, Samuel was old enough to know that people are full of surprises. Enough. Just when Sabrina was about to punch him again, Jacob released a burst of arch-energy to push her away. The violent burst of arch-energy knocked everything in the room, such as books, lanterns, and flower vases. The items on the ground were blasted away in many directions. The burst momentarily broke the effects of the spell cast by Natalia. How dare you all treat me like this? Jacob barked like a mad dog. His neatly combed hair now a mess. Bloodstains on his teeth made him look even worse. And you? Jacob's gaze turned towards Michael. Everything went wrong after you came here. You're manipulating them, spouting lies about Andrew, really, Jacob? Michael just calmly smiled. After all we've seen, you're trying to blame me? He then looked at Sabrina. You should deal with him before he forced my hand. For dash, wind blast. Jacob snapped and tried to cast a spell, but when he opened his mouth to cast the spell, a wave of wind from Michael's hand blasted him onto the wall again. The force of the wind was so powerful that a web of cracks formed in the wall when Jacob's body collided with the wall. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Continued bell sounds rang in his head after he blasted Jacob. Wind blast was simple and quick to cast spell. Although the wind blast was still at level 2, his current cultivation level significantly did not affect boosted all of his spell's power. Jacob hit the ground with a thud sound, but he didn't move after falling down. The wind blast knocked him out. Sabrina gave a short nod of approval at Michael. Michael only got 3,000 badass points since Michael did not use any fancy spells such as Ring of Fire or Ignitia. Yet Michael was glad that he almost earned 15k badass points ever since he came to Penn Town. He wanted to do the first thing after earning a couple of more thousand badass points and settle his debt of badass points. Meet me at the training hall, Sabrina ordered Samuel. Amid this chaos, she didn't forget about Giles. She wanted to interrogate Jacob more before taking any actions against Giles. Chapter 196, The Cure Worked, Natalia. He'll be fine, healer Adele gently brushed Natalia's head. The three ladies had seated themselves on Andrew's bed, surrounding him. It took Michael 10 minutes to brew the basilisk venom antidote as well as the phoenix potion. He intentionally brewed the potion in front of the guards and maids to amass more badass points. As he expected, his plan worked too well as he earned a whooping 10k points by impressing the crowd. He now had 22,000 badass points. With interest, he had to pay 13,000 badass points to the system. Give these to him when he wakes up. Michael placed a healing potion on the small cupboard beside the bed. Excuse me, he then gave a short nod at everyone in the room before leaving Andrew's room. They all showed Michael a smile filled with gratitude. He knew they would soon come to thank him one by one, but for now, he gave them the privacy they needed. He left Andrew's room with Gaia and Nightmare. After reaching the room given to him, Michael jumped on his bed with Gaia. She placed her head on Michael's chest as Nightmare cuddled between them. Are you still mad at me? Nightmare asked in a meek voice. For a moment, he sounded like a scared cat rather than a scary dragon. Looking at the pet dragon giving him puppy eyes, he smoothed the dragon's warm body. Nightmare uncurled himself and stood on Michael's chest on 4 legs, staring at Michael. But I just wanted to help that human girl. Just like you helped me in the Nether Realm, this time, your choice to help her didn't have a dire consequence. What if Alden still had a powerful family behind him? What if Sabrina really deserved to get killed? What if Alden didn't deserve to get killed? What if Alden was stronger than us? What if Alden escaped and decided to kill everyone at the sect as an act of revenge? Michael continued to raise questions, slowly making Nightmare realize what could have happened because of his actions. Helping others isn't a problem, but helping without knowing everything is. If I only want to increase my own power, I could easily roam around this world, helping people, killing bad guys, and being a goody two-shoes. But I don't want that. I want to build a government that rules everything under my leadership. That's why I take every step carefully, thinking about every possible outcome, Michael explained. Aside from the prophecy of him being the Dark Lord, Michael really wanted to control this world because of the novels he had read in his previous life and his life experience. The main characters in those novels would triumph over everything to become the peak existence, but if they turned back and look at their life path, they would have nothing but a harem of beauties, if they didn't die somehow. If he acted like those main characters, he could have a fun-filled life with the system. Yet he knew the world would eventually forget about him and move on unless he often showed them who's the boss. What's the best way to do that than ruling them? A god is only a god until he has worshippers, right? If Michael didn't rule this world, he would just be a character in the history books. Besides, organizations like the Great Clans would eventually become strong enough to challenge him, and if he was alone, his fun-filled life would definitely come to an end unless Michael built his own Great Clan, powerful enough to face all the others while uprooting his enemies on his behalf. He would be a god forever. You helped me without even knowing my name. Gaia rolled on his chest to take her eyes away from the ceiling to him. That was need not help, what do you mean? She raised her brows. Clearly, it was not the answer she was hoping for. I just came to this world knowing basically nothing. Hence I needed someone to tell me everything I wanted to know. You were a crippled girl and looked kinda okay too, so I rescued you. Her eyes twitched like she was controlling her urge to punch him in the face. What do you mean kinda okay? My mistake, you're not kinda okay. You're fugly. What's fugly? Nightmare asked while she was clenching her fist. Fucking ugly, bastard. She started to headbutt his chest furiously as Michael and Nightmare laughed out loud. Soon, he grabbed her by her hands, stopping her from wiggle. Their eyes locked in, entering a staring contest. Little by little, Gaia's anger dissipated as she began to breathe heavily. He moved closer and closer until she could feel his warm breath on her face. You're the prettiest girl in my heart. Nightmare immediately closed his eyes with his wings when Michael locked his lips with hers. The tender kiss made him almost forget about the existence of Nightmare near them. Until they tie the knot, Gaia didn't want to have sex with him, and Michael respected her decision. Although he had the prettiest girl lying beside him on a warm bed on a cold night like this, the only thing he could get was a tender kiss. Michael savored every second of the kiss. Lesson learned. Nightmare wiggled himself in between them, breaking the kiss with his little body. Good. Michael moved his head away from Gaia's. He then licked his lips. A wry smile was plastered on his face. Let's see what's happening around. A tablet-sized mirror appeared in Michael's hand from his space ring. A bright light flickered inside the mirror a few times before it showed the Winston family hall. They saw a few guards standing in the corners and a group of guards patrolling. Nothing caught Michael's interest until the mirror showed 3 guards standing around a campfire at the garden outside. My cousin Lamar just came back from Flame Fair, and you're not going to believe what I heard from him. Nightmare hopped on Michael's shoulder to get a good view of the mirror. He said the whole town is under lockdown. He said that he had to pay his way out. No surprise there. Flame Fair and Ice Fair always get the worst of the winter, the guard replied in a thick accent while warming his hands above the fire. It was not the winter that made those Flame Fairers piss their pants, Trent. Someone is killing the wealthy cultivators in their own home, and Duke Avon put the entire Flame Fair in lockdown. Good lord, do you think it's Lucifer? The guard's voice stuttered in fear. The mere mention of the name Lucifer made his legs turn into jelly. I don't know, but he said the Guardians were swarming the place, so it's possible. Then Lucifer should kill that bastard Avon and end this fucking war, the third guard replied. That's not all. A few days ago, someone killed a few soldiers of Duke Avon at the slave mines. Slave mines? Why? The guard with a thick accent asked. Who knows? Did they catch the one who attacked? Lamar said he heard the one who attacked used a teleportation scroll to escape. I guess it must be some rich brat who loves the thrill, so she used the teleportation scroll, Michael said. Bugging Noah's home had already started to pay off. He never expected to find out what happened at Flame Fair without even going or sending someone to Flame Fair. It seems the Guardians left the royal land to come to Flame Fair, or we have another copycat. Either way, I have to go to Flame Fair. You mean we have to go to Flame Fair, right? Michael shook his head. No, you go to Abyssal and make sure Arya put her heart into serving us. But she was about to protest when Michael put his finger on her lips. No buts. We can't be at 2 places at the same time. You go to Abyssal and I go to the Flame Fair. What about the auction at Ice Fair? Nightmare asked. Well, leave tomorrow morning, and if you can, you meet us at the auction. All right, Gaia sighed. Where is that Diana lady? We cannot leave without getting those free permits. Speaking of Diana, is it me or that humans seem to be treating Ghosty differently? Nightmare asked them. Gaia nodded at Nightmare as she noticed the way Diana acted too. She does look like a textbook mother, but yeah, I did notice how she treated a total stranger like her own son. I mean, you did save her and her daughter, but still, she was way too much caring. what if she was way too caring? There are many good people in this world and she is one of them. I just hope Noah doesn't get in my way. I'd really hate to make her cry. The way I see it, that guy is really pushing his luck. One day, he's gonna get himself killed for pissing off the powerful people in Elon. Gaia dismissed Michael's thought of killing Noah with a wave. Knock. Knock. Just as they were speaking and cuddling each other on the bed, someone knocked on the door. Coming, just by the gentleness of the knock, he could tell it's either one of the three ladies who knocked on the door. When he opened the door, he was proven right as Diana stood outside. Chapter 197. Lady Diana, is everything all right? Yes, yes. Everything's perfectly fine, thanks to you, she said, but Michael could tell there's something else she wants to talk to him about. Come on, let's go for a walk. This has been a long day. Michael nodded as Diana waved her hands at Gaia and Nightmare to follow her. Soon, they walked through the corridors, hall, and reached the garden outside. A transparent energy dome around the garden prevented the garden from completely blanketed by snow. The sky was vacant of any stars as a winter sky should be. Occasional glimmering stones lighted the garden as various color flowers danced in the wind. Especially a line of 5-petal flowers that drew their attention with its navy blue color. Michael walked behind Diana, brushing his hand through the flowers. Lady Diana, it's not safe for you here. Why don't we go inside? Although he sensed no hostile activity nearby, he didn't want to stay outside because Giles was still alive and he could easily plot another plan to assassinate Diana. If the assassin was at the core formation level, either he or Gaia could prevail, otherwise, they would be in real trouble. It's fine, I feel just as safe with you as with my children, I guess, thanks. Michael scratched the back of his head with a doubtful smile. Diana was in front of him, so she never saw his expression. No, it's us who must thank you for all you've done for me and my family. Diana halted her steps, turning back to look him in the eyes. Thank you. She took Michael's hand and clenched it tightly. I don't know how I would have faced Natalia if I let anything happen to Andrews. Glistening tears rolled out of her beautiful eyes. He desperately wanted to wipe those tears off her face. This was a new kind of feeling for him. Happy to help, Lady Diana. Standing a few meters away from Diana and Michael, Gaia slightly raised her brows. She was with him for almost a year now, but this was the first time she saw him vulnerable like this. Even when he was with her, he would never seem vulnerable, but when he was with Diana, he acted differently. Both of them stood under the drizzling of snowflakes. No words were coming out of their words, but silence enveloped them. Michael felt a calmness he never experienced before. HMPRH, Gaia coughed to break the silence. Finally, Diana let go of his hands and stepped back. Sweetie, you never told me where your parents are? They must be proud to have a son like you. I would have known if they stuck around to raise me. Michael just smiled, but both Gaia and Diana could sense the pain behind his smile. I am sorry, Diana stuttered. Don't be, Lady Diana. He quickly hid the pain and anger from showing on his face. Even if we know you for few days, you're family to me, sweetie. He did not know what to tell as he just stayed silent for a few moments. Tomorrow, you'll get to meet the whole gang. Diana clenched her hands together against her chest in joy. A blast of happiness flashed across her face. About that, Lady Diana. I have to leave as early as possible tomorrow morning. The smile on Diana's face froze. Why? I must leave as soon as possible, Lady Diana, trust me. I hope you understand my situation. After seeing the resolve in his eyes, Diana could only sigh. At least wait until Natalia comes out of Andrew's room. She would want to speak with you, and I haven't even got you something to thank you for what you've done. You can thank us by giving us free permits, Gaia hurriedly shouted at Diana. Free permits? Forgive my girlfriend's enthusiasm. It just we are planning to expand our businesses and she thinks Penn Town will be a perfect place. Done. Just wait here for a few moments. When the sky became brighter, Michael wrote a letter that had a few parting words for Diana. He then placed it on the table before leaving the room through the opened windows with Gaia and Nightmare. He soared up into the skies, his shadow gradually vanishing into the distance. A few hours after Michael left the room, Diana opened the door to see the empty room. Seeing the room empty, her eyes revealed a perplexed look as if she couldn't bear to watch him go. At the same time, tears trickled out of her eyes. She then saw the letter which Michael had left behind. This caused her to freeze for a second before she approached the table and picked up the letter. She sat on his bed as she gazed at the words written by him. Lady Diana, I'm not very good with goodbyes and this is the best I could do. If fate permits, we'll meet again soon, she muttered repeatedly. After a long time, her expression fell as she whispered to herself, "Forgive me," she then placed the letter down as she crawled into his bed. Within the covers, there was still some warmth left behind by him. Diana laid down on the pillow and pressed her face deep into the pillow. While Diana was sobbing on Michael's bed, Imelda entered the room. She was stunned by the empty room and her sister crying. "Diana, what happened? Why are you crying and where are they?" Imelda asked, walking to the bed to console her sister. When Imelda seated herself on the bed, Diana crawled to her and placed her head on Imelda's lap. "Did he leave without even telling us? He told me yesterday night. I just wanted to say goodbye to him. They must have had some important thing to take care of." "Diana, but why are you crying like this?" Imelda too noticed the way she treated Michael. She didn't want to question her sister when Michael was around, and since he's gone, she was able to ask Diana. "Because Ghost is my son, Imelda," she burst into crying more after speaking these words. The grief, regret, and pain overwhelmed Diana's heart. "Diana, he's not your son. You know he can't be." Amela's heart began to beat faster and faster. She could still remember that night vividly every time she closed her eyes. She wanted to forget about everything that happened that night, but until now, she was unable to. "No. He is my son, the wishing stone." "It worked." Diana stood up, wiping off the tears from her face. She then flicked her wrist as a multicolored gem appeared in her hand. It flickered a few times before losing its shine. This is the stone Noah gave you." Imelda was speechless. She was stunned when Noah gifted the stone to Diana on her birthday. It said that a wishing stone could grant its holders wishes if he or she wished from their heart and their wish wasn't about hurting others. Noah also said that there's only a couple of wishing stones existing in this world. "I wished to see my Dean, and the very next day, I met Ghost." "Ghost is Dean." "Imelda, stop it, Diana." Imelda shouted as Diana's face froze in shock. "That baby couldn't have survived, it's dead. You have only one son and you to accept that." "No." Diana stomped her feet as the entire room trembled. Imelda was pushed back several feet by the arch energy exploded from Diana's body. 20 years ago, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have trusted that oracle. A mother knows her children. "Imelda, he is my son." It had been 20 years since Imelda saw her sister like this. If she didn't stop cultivating 20 years ago to punish herself, she would have been half immortal by now. 2 decades ago, she was a warrior feared by many kingdoms in the Azure continent. Imelda's body shivered under the overwhelming aura radiating from Diana. However, Imelda had to overcome this fear and calm her sister down. "Even if he is your son, do you think he'll be happy to meet us, the ones who left him to die on a sacrificial stage in the middle of a forest?" The overwhelming powerful aura slowly dissipated from Diana's body. "You know what would the Sky Hall do to him if they knew the baby survived and grew into a youngster? They will kill him." Diana's legs gave up as she dropped to the ground. She felt just as helpless as she felt 20 years ago. Even an animal would fight to save its child, but she left her 2-day-old baby to die. Ever since that night, Diana couldn't stop hearing the baby's cries. If it wasn't for her family, she would have already taken her own life. "Ah," Diana cried out loud. "Don't speak about this with anyone, Diana. If by any chance he's your son." "He is," Diana sobbed as Imelda sighed, wrapping her hands around Diana to console her. "He can't be the son you want him to be. He'd be killed along with everyone he knew in this world." "Don't do that to him." "So, you want me to pretend like my son doesn't exist? Rowena and Noah can protect him. We can protect him from the Sky Hall." Imelda shook her head. "If we tell them about Ghost, Rowena will throw away her holy maiden position and Noah will fight for his twin brother, but they can't win against the Skyhall, Diana. Even if Noah brought the entire Guardian Guild with him, Skyhall will destroy them. You know this better than anyone. Diana had no response as she knew the truth in Imelda's words. She could only cry. That was all she could right now. I know how hard this is for you, Diana, but Dean can't be with us unless he could become strong enough to destroy the Skyhall. Chapter 198. In a multitude of precious metal hues, snow clouds, silver and black, adorned the sky as if they longed to kiss the land. Under the snow clouds and rain of snowflakes, Michael was flying towards Flame Fair without a clue about what just happened back in his room. If he had enough spiders, he would have placed them in every room, including in the room he stayed in. Therefore, he prioritized the hall, Noah's room, and a few others and did not place one in his room. If he had done that, he would have realized that Diana is his mother. More correctly, a brass mother. Even before coming to this world, he had been the reason for the separation between Diana and her son. How far is this Flame Fair? Nightmare asked, standing on his shoulder. I think we'll reach the Flame Fair town in a few hours. The smokiness of the winter prevented him from clearly seeing the villages beneath him on the land. He could barely see structures of buildings and dim lights produced by the torches in those buildings. The guard was right, the winter is harsher here than in Breedia or Penn Town, so what should we do when we find this copycat? Kill him, Michael simply shrugged. We have 3 days until the auction, which means we have 3 days to find this copycat. What if it's like Gaia said? What if this copycat is a Guardian's doing? If the system was on safe mode before, he may have chosen to intrude. Since it was not the case, Michael would definitely kill the one pretending to be him, even if that one was a Guardian. Then well, kill them too. Michael and Nightmare continued to fly towards the north according to the map. Soon, towering man-made structures and a gigantic city wall vaguely appeared in the distance. I can sense some powerful presence on the city wall, Ghosty, Nightmare informed Michael. Although Michael could not see or sense any presence, he knew Nightmare saw the world and the energy around the world differently than any other species in this world. Considering many cities he had been in had no flying inside the city walls rule, he descended to the ground to enter the city through the main gate. Soon, as he was expecting, a group of soldiers approached him. Another Nightcrawler hunter, I presume. The person who was leading the guard patrol was a woman. She stood at least 7 feet tall with the structure of a professional bodybuilder. Her bulky structure seemed bulkier with the jade green armor that was covering her from her head to toe. Regardless of her monstrous height and figure, Michael stayed calm, except his heart skipped a beat when he saw the golden G etched onto her chest plate. A Guardian. Michael's mind quickly recognized the symbol. It was the same symbol he saw on Peyton and Zenalis' robes. He quickly willed himself to sense her cultivation level. She was just a few months of cultivation away from reaching the core strengthening stage. Coupled with her physique strength and the power of her armor, he knew it would be difficult to defeat her in a one-on-one battle unless he fought her as Lucifer. Ha ha ha, look guys, he came to hunt the Nightcrawler with a fucking dragon, the woman laughed, pointing her gigantic hand at Nightmare. The soldiers in ironclad armor behind her let out an awkward smile mixed with shock and surprise. The appearance of a Guardian and what he heard from the guards at Noah's home helped Michael get a good idea about what she was talking about. Just when Michael was about to ask her a question about hunting Nightcrawler, her smile disappeared from her face and was replaced by a stern look. I know who you are. Humph, you must be the guy who's calling himself Ghost, she snickered. Nightmare bore his sharp razor teeth because of the way she ridiculed Michael. Do I know you? The usual calm smile on Michael's face was non-existent when he asked the woman. Rejecting Peyton's offer to join them as one of their lackeys certainly made an impression about him on the Guardians, and Michael knew it. Pay 2,000 gold to enter the city and hunt Nightcrawler. The city is off-limits otherwise, the woman spoke, turning her back to Michael. So be it. Michael knew there's no point in arguing with this woman as he threw a pouch containing the gold to one of the guards. The woman had already stepped through the city gates and disappeared from Michael's eyes. Young Master Ghost, you're clear to go, and unlike the Guardian, the guards seemed to speak to Michael with the utmost respect. They barely looked at Michael and Nightmare in their eyes. It might be respect or fear, but Michael didn't care which. He just nodded with a smile before walking into the city through the main gate. The city of Flame Fair was built in the shadow of an enormous mountain and was truly a leading-edge wonder. Its uniqueness was matched by the backdrop of a majestic mountain that has helped shape the city into today's city. The skyline was scattered with distinct skyscrapers, and they had been designed to adorn the city and each other. When Michael took his first step into the city, he saw the usual buildings such as smithies, bakeries, lines of houses, and clothing stores as he would have in any other city. However, what made Flame Fair distinct in his eyes was how barren and empty the streets were. Even if this was the winter season, he knew a large city like this shouldn't be this empty and lifeless. He saw 0 people on the streets except for patrolling soldiers. Is that a dragon? Who is he? That's one majestic creature. He's making himself the target of the Nightcrawler. Bad move, he heard the patrolling guards murmuring, while just a sight of Nightmare standing on Michael's shoulder was enough to impress the guards and increase his badass points. Where to? Nightmare asked as Michael began to walk through the snow-covered main street. The first place you should go to if you want to gather information, a tavern. It took him a couple of minutes walking before arriving in front of a 2-story building made of gray stones and red bricks. A beautifully calligraphed board that had a drawing of an old plump woman with a mug was hanging above the door. Old Martha. Nightmare read the board as they entered the tavern through the old, metal door. He was welcomed by whispers and aromas of what's probably food, hopefully. The bartender on the other end of the tavern was cleaning the mugs, and when he saw Michael, he quickly smiled at him, but his smile quickly froze on his face looking at Nightmare. It was as dull inside as the streets outside. Hard wooden beams supported the upper floor and the rows of small, molten candles attached to them. The walls were decorated with mounted animal heads and small animals. The tavern itself was almost completely abandoned. On the walls of the tavern, Michael saw a wanted poster. Dark, curly hair clumsily hung over a skinny, frowning face. The man on the poster wore a monocle that gave rather an evil vibe. Nightcrawler. Nightmare read the name while Michael grabbed the poster from the wall. 100,000 gold coins for whoever brings the Nightcrawler to Duke's palace, dead or alive. That's a huge bounty. Michael placed the bounty poster in his system storage before walking to the bar counter. Young Master, we don't allow dash. I'm sure you'll make an exception, the bartender stuttered, staring at Nightmare. Before the bartender could finish his sentence, Michael slid a small pouch of gold count to the bartender to shut his mouth. There were more than enough coins for the bartender to make an exception to his no pets allowed rule. Since that was the case, the bartender forced a smile out. He was still freaked out about the dragon staring at him. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Just walking into the tavern with Nightmare granted Michael badass points as he always expected, because having a dragon as a pet was definitely badass. Why so serious? Let's light up this place. Michael turned to look at the few people in the tavern. Drinks are on me, Ghost of River Town. Michael hoped they could identify him with his name, and when he saw the people slightly drop their jaws, he knew they recognized him. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Yeah. Oh my god, it's really him. The 5-star alchemist of Breedia? Heck yeah. Some cheered thinking about free booze, while some were stunned to see a renowned figure like him at the same tavern where they are. A few daring adventurers quickly came to Michael's side and seated themselves beside Michael. Keep the ale flowing, bartender. What was a better way to loosen their tongues than buying them free drinks? It would make them drunk, and drunk people tell no lies. Of course, young master, the bartender almost forgot about the terrifying dragon because he knew how much these people would drink if they don't have to pay for the drink. Thanks to Ghost, he could very well sell enough drinks to make up for the drought of a week he had previously because of the Nightcrawler. So what brings a famous guy like yourself to Flame Fair, especially during a fucked up time like this? A middle-aged adventurer with a thick bushy beard asked Michael. Of course he came to hunt down Nightcrawler, old man, a young adventurer shouted at the middle-aged man. What can you guys tell me about this Nightcrawler? Chapter 199, not much except he started killing 2 weeks ago. Until the Guardians decided to warn the people, the Duke kept Nightcrawler's existence a secret, one of the adventurers said, taking occasional sips of ale. Of course, he kept it a secret. The Duke of Pentown has been kicking his ass since the beginning of this war. He didn't want to demoralize the soldiers further by telling them about Nightcrawler. How would you feel if you're fighting a war far away while someone might kill your family back at home? I would desert, a few of the adventurers shouted, raising their mugs together. Are the Guardians anywhere near catching this Nightcrawler? They've been investigating, the bushy-bearded middle-aged man air quotes the words showing his disappointment with the Guardians. Who knows? It might be the Guardians who were doing the killing, as Lucifer said. What the fuck are you talking about? Everyone turned their gazes at the young man who just spoke. Don't tell me none of you went to Royal Land recently, the young man asked before slamming his empty mug on the table. Refill, he shouted at the bartender. 2 weeks ago, I was at Royal Land, doing an escort job. And while we were passing the town square, we saw it. The youngster took a long sip. Saw what? A small army of Netherals. We all saw them carrying Minister Jurdy's body. The words Guardian stop pretending to be me, Lucifer was written on his body. The youngster finished his ale in one long gulp. Not only Michael but everyone in the tavern could tell that the youngster was pretty shaken up, recalling the sight of a small army of Netherals. It might be anyone trying to blame the Guardians. From the corner of the tavern, someone said. I never said what happened next. The youngster slammed the mug again. When the Guardians approached the body, Jurdy's body exploded and the blood formed the words, Lucifer is watching everyone in the sky. Only Michael knew it was not blood but fireworks he brought from the system. It was obvious this youngster exaggerated the last part, but exaggeration would be good for Lucifer's reputation. Now tell me what or who could control the mindless Netherals and write in the sky in blood? I'd say it's Lucifer. Of course it's Lucifer. I heard of Jurdy. He was a real son of a bitch, and I would say he got what he deserved. Lucifer, Nightcrawler, this world is really going towards a shit storm, a few adventurers sighed. What happened to the Netherals? What do you think? The Holy Guard smote them to hell. It's fucked up to even think the Guardians pretended to be Lucifer and killed those nobles. Not for me. I always knew the Guardians were up to no good. I'm glad that someone or something like Lucifer is going to keep them in. Like, if you ask me, I'd say let Lucifer hunt down all those fucking noble bastards. Most of them deserve worse than dead. Michael was slightly amused to see most of the adventurers in the tavern support Lucifer. If most people in the continent think like these adventurers, anyone Michael kills would be branded as a sinner by the people, which was exactly what Michael wants. What more can you tell about this Nightcrawler? Before the conversation completely turns towards Lucifer, Michael asked the question. Though the Guardians announced Nightcrawler's existence, they didn't share much except he kills people at night. Yeah, no shit. How many people did he kill? Michael asked. 6 I think. Nah, with Lucan a few days ago, it'd be 7. If you want to know more about him, you should go ask what's her name again. The bushy-bearded adventurer rubbed his beard trying to recall the name. Nesta, she's the one leading the task of catching Nightcrawler. Yeah, Nesta, the bearded adventurer exclaimed. But be careful, I heard she has quite a temper. If I were you, I don't want to piss off that giant, Nesta, huh? Michael mumbled under his breath. If she was in charge of catching the Nightcrawler, Michael knew killing Nightcrawler as Lucifer would teach her a lesson. However, his first priority before starting the hunt was gathering more information about the Nightcrawler. After getting as much as information he could from them, Michael rented a room in the same tavern. Considering Michael multiplied his business by many folds, the bartender, also the owner of the tavern, was happy to give Michael his best room for free. Of course, Michael knew it was also a business tactic, as he could later double his prices, saying that the famous 5-star alchemist, Ghost of Rivertown, stayed at his tavern. System, bring up my status window. Lying on his bed, he ordered the system as the familiar window appeared before Michael's eyes. System version 3.0 host, Michael. Cultivation level, core formation stage, level 3. Experience points, 0/4000000 badass points, 8,500 skills and spells, Wind Blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL2 lightning dash, LVL2 energy devolver, LVL1 death range, LVL2 techniques. Swords of Destiny, 90% Mastery Ring of Fire, 57% Mastery Occupation. Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal Status. Healthy Goals. Control the world, rebuild the Order of Death. Utility Function, Banker, LVL3, Ratio, 1000 gold coins, 10 badass points. Wealth, 2,170,000 gold. Special Trait, 5-star Alchemist, 3-star Inventor. Subordinates, Gaia, Warrior, Loyalty level 100%. Raylene, 5-star Chef, Loyalty level 97%, Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect. The Abyssal, I need to upgrade my spells and banker function. Host should really consider taking a loan and upgrading the spells. The system sounded extremely greedy. Nah, for the time being, I don't want any more loans from you, Michael said as he remembered something about Nightmare. Hey system, now that you're online, can you make Nightmare a royal dragon? It would take 400,000 badass points to make a forest dragon a royal dragon. He was with the system long enough to tell the greedy system was hiding something. Spit it out, what? The host should get more badass points if you want to make your pet dragon a royal dragon. What the? Are you arguing with me now? I know you know a second method system. For a moment, Michael heard a sound like the system sighing. Or you can find a royal dragon and pay the system 50,000 badass points to start the ritual to transform Nightmare into a royal dragon. That seems reasonable. See, we can work it out, Michael chuckled. System, with my current inventor level, I cannot make the thermal camera. So, can you do something about it, like turning the camera I make into a thermal camera? The host can buy a thermal chip from the system store for 200 badass points. Excellent. Why does the host want a thermal camera anyways? This place is basically under lockdown. Anyone who ventures outside at night will be a suspect. If I want to find out what's going on without getting into a fight with Nesta, I have to send out a drone to first survey the area. Who knows? With a little bit of luck, I might find the Nightcrawler himself. Michael knew that if Nightcrawler was able to venture out at night without getting detected by the Guardians, he might have something interesting with him to cover his tracks. It was highly unlikely that even an assassin could kill a noble in his own room, especially after the city had been put under the surveillance of the Guardians. After what happened with Gertie, if the Guardians did pretend to be Lucifer as Gaia said, they wouldn't try to do the same thing again. Nightcrawler, what secrets do you have? Michael already plotted a plan to use Nightcrawler to his advantage. Hey, are you there? When Michael closed the system's interface, he heard Gaia's voice sounding in his head. What is it? Michael adjusted the earbud in his ear and asked Gaia. They really fucked up Arias brothers. Human, what do you mean really fucked up? Nightmare quickly placed his little head over Michael's ear to eavesdrop. The slave mine was not only used to mine iron, but it was also used for traffic organs and sick experiments on the slaves. You really need to get down here. I don't think they'll last long. I'll put some special healing potion into the interlinked space ring, give it to her. It will keep them alive until I come, got it? By the way, how's your hunt for the killer going? Still collecting information, but I'll finish it soon. What's Dickie doing? Michael noticed the smile on Nightmare's face. It was surprisingly beautiful, for a dragon. He's here, he said. Keep that lizard safe. Don't let him get into trouble while I'm away. Yes, mother, Michael chuckled, and he could hear Gaia giggling on the other end. After giving the healing potion to them, I'm going back to the sect to see how things back there, then I will put some instructions for Olivia to study in the ring. Give them to her. He already assigned the task of studying all the herbs and their characteristics in his herbal garden, and since he couldn't be with her all the time to guide her, Michael wrote a few pointers in a book for her to study. If she could become extremely loyal to him, he would make her the head of his alchemy business chain as he was planning. Will do. Just stay safe out there, she said in a gentle voice before cutting the call. Chapter 200. The next day Michael woke up before everyone at the tavern. When he reached the downstairs where the bar was located, he saw the adventurers were still snoring. Some were lying on the ground while some were using the long oak tables as their bed. Young Master Ghost, the tavern owner, stopped sweeping the place and greeted Michael with a wide grin. The joy of yesterday's business lightened the tavern owner's face. Well, serve breakfast in an hour, young master. Nah, I have to be somewhere else. Well, meet again, Michael saluted with 2 fingers with a smile before leaving the tavern. He had to get all the things to build a drone and let it survey the city. If it wasn't for Arias Brothers' situation, he could have spent some time in Flame Fair before leaving to Ice Flare to attend the auction, except now he had to do everything in a rush. Recalling the directions given to him by the adventurers yesterday, Michael made his way to the Burning Star, a well-known store in Flame Fair run by Duke's concubine. Michael was informed that if he wants to buy whether a common item or a rare item, he should look in the Burning Star. The parts required to build a drone weren't rare but could be found in any auction houses or stores like the Burning Star. A drone was not the only thing in his mind. He wanted to make small projectors that would be used by him to telecast what he's going to do. That was going to be his quickie way to earn thousands of badass points as well as spread Lucifer's reputation. The streets were not very different from yesterday. The patrolling guards stared at him wearily, but they didn't stop him to investigate. He knew they might have been informed by Nesta to leave him alone, or they were sure that Michael can't be the Nightcrawler. The more he walked towards the center of the city, the richer and fancier the surroundings became. Lavish water fountains with frozen water, elegant buildings made of marble stones, and painted glass occupied his eyes. Besides the rich scenery, he saw few people who weren't soldiers in full plate armor on the streets. However, they all wore colorful masquerade masks to cover their faces. On top of the masks, the ladies wore feather hats while men wore long capes. What are they wearing? Nightmare questioned Michael. His little dragon eyes watched them curiously. Soon, the nobles caught the dragon checking them out and quickly began to murmur, pointing their fingers at Michael and the dragon standing on his shoulder. Oh, Calpurnia, look at him. Is that a dragon on his shoulder? It can't be. Who is he? The nobles were curious, yet they didn't choose to talk to Michael. The get-ups amused Michael, reminding him of the masquerade balls secretly hosted by the rich people on Earth. After walking on the main street and turning a few corners according to the adventurers, a majestic tall tower appeared in his sight. The tower was over 60 meters tall. Bright lights could be seen from every single level, and there was a large pavilion on the rooftop. It was an incredibly stylish building that resembled the shape of the Chrysler Building in New York. This single tower showed Michael the wealth of the Duke, as even in this world, maintaining such a majestic building like this would require hundreds of thousand gold coins. One day, I'll own a building like this, Michael said to himself as he walked towards the building, passing the guard patrols on the street. The Burning Star Tower looked different from close proximity. When standing near the front entrance and looking at the golden entrance, one could feel the aura of wealth and prosperity. The Burning Star was the biggest trade power in Flame Fair. They ran many different kinds of trading businesses, including an alchemy store that was exclusive to certain customers. It was run by the people of Gabriel, the alchemy king of Elon. On top of this store, many were run and owned by the Duke and his concubine. The Flame Fair was huge and cannot be compared with Bradford or any other 3 major cities in Breedia. If one stood on a mountain a few miles away, they would discover that Flame Fair was a few hundred square miles of land with beautifully built buildings. The whole city was filled with a magnificent atmosphere, and even during a time of war like this, the city would still be illuminated with lights. They entered the brightly lit Burning Star Tower. When he opened the glass doors, he was welcomed by a warm wave of air. Nightmare could see the hidden arrays around the large spacious hall that were warming the air inside, so the customers would feel comfortable. The first floor was a trading space with small shops built within. These shops were not run by the Duke and his concubine. They were spots rented out, and the Duke would only collect rental payment from them. The floor might have looked grand, but nonetheless, it was rather empty except for a young woman standing behind a marble counter at the end of the hall. "My lord, you can't bring pets inside." The girl had beautiful curly golden hair with hazel eyes. At the moment, her hazel eyes were filled with a cocktail of emotions such as fear and shock. "Pet." Growling, Nightmare growled, showing his razor-sharp teeth at the girl. "First, he's not a pet, and second, you should put a board outside." Despite the girl's reaction to Nightmare, Michael answered her calmly. His warm smile slightly calmed the girl. He knew she was just doing her job and there was no need to make this a big deal. As you can see, He's a dragon, and I think a noble creature like him would behave himself, which cannot be said to most of the humans, my lord, but it's not a good move to make the ghost of River Town, the 5-star alchemist, wait because of some petty rule. Mia, a familiar voice resounded as Michael turned to see a gorgeous girl in a violet thick thigh-cut dress. Sadie Kaplan. It was none other than core disciple of Silvermoon and Michael's one-night stand, Sadie Kaplan. The last time he saw her was when the river town was attacked by Netherals. It was one of the best nights he ever had since he came to this world. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points, ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. You never fail to amaze me, Ghost. Her voice contained a hint of shock. She tried to hide the shock behind her seductive smile. I have 2 questions, Ghost. How the hell are you cultivating? And where the fuck did you get a dragon? She asked while slowly walking towards him like she was walking on a tramp at a fashion show. When she got closer, she leaned forward to lip lock, but Michael avoided the kiss on the lips by giving a friendly hug. Huh? Sadie creased her beautiful sharp brows. I didn't expect to see you here, Michael said, pretending not to see her reaction. Me neither, and you haven't answered my questions, Ghost. The answers are I'm awesome and got him from Nether Realm. He looked so arrogant when he answered her, but in Sade's eyes, he looked so hot too. I need everything in this list, can you get me these? He retrieved a paper note, sliding it towards Mia, the girl behind the counter. After realizing the youngster in front of her was actually the famous ghost of River Town, Mia didn't open her mouth about the Burning Star's rules about bringing pets inside. They would often make exceptions to many rules for people such as him, so it was not new to her. Of course, my lord. Taking the list, the girl ran to the room behind her to get the items while Sadie gestured at him to follow her to the sofa. Her eyes were curiously staring at Nightmare. Can I? Sade reached out to pet Nightmare after seating herself comfortably on the sofa. No, yet. Nightmare outrightly rejected her, moving from Michael's right shoulder to left. He's a dragon, Sadie, you cannot pet him, Michael calmly said as she pouted. It's still hard to believe you have a dragon and at the core formation stage, Ghost. You've reached core formation from body refining in what, 6 months? Give or take, what's your secret? Michael knew she was trying to get his cultivation method, but even if he did tell her, she wouldn't believe it. If you want to cultivate like me, you should try to venture into the treacherous ocean. I heard about your little trip and who you brought back, said Sadie. It wasn't a big surprise for Michael as he made sure the news of Christopher's return spread across Breedia and other kingdoms, because having a soul refiner would make sure his base of operations stays safe from the rogue cultivators. His herbal garden was basically a small treasure trove that had the herbs that could be sold to a shitload of gold coins in trade centers. I guess you're here to get new spells or weapons for the upcoming tournament. I really wish you went to Ice Flare instead of coming here. Those drunken bastards never mentioned anything about a tournament, which now really piqued his curiosity. A tournament was the best place for him to be badass and earn thousands of badass points. A tournament, huh? You do know about the upcoming Bredian Championship tournament, right? His silence told Sadie that he really doesn't know about one of the biggest tournaments in Elon. It's gonna start in just 3 months. How could you not know about one of the biggest tournaments in Elon? Please enlighten me. Chapter 201. Well, the tournament has 2 championships. One is to choose the champion of the younger generation, which mostly have body-strengthening disciples. The second championship is the main one. This is where the core disciples of the big sects compete. Considering you've reached the core formation stage and you're the core disciples, you won't be competing with the younger generation but with us, Michael grinned, recalling the events that happened at Heaven's Gate competition. At that time, Selena and her boyfriend Alex Fisher threatened him not to step on the 100th step, and ever since he came across Selena at the waterfall by mistake, she was looking to mess with him. This tournament looked like a good place to kick their asses and prove to everyone that he is the number 1 in Elon. Just imagining how many badass points he could reap from this award made his blood boil in excitement. Why are you grinning? Sadie creased her brows, seeing the grin on his face. Core disciples, huh? I assume Selena and her boyfriend will be there. Michael did not stop the tinge of killing intent from emerging in his eyes. Yes, but you can't kill them. Killing is strictly forbidden in the tournament and it's the referee's job to keep the competitors alive. They can try, he snickered inside. He was positive that he could come up with a plan to kill anyone he wants at the competition with the help of his alchemy talent and the help of the system. Is that so? Tell me more. However, he was not going to share his thoughts with Sadie. In the main championship, there will be 6 rounds. First round, second round, third round, semi-final 1, semi-final 2, and the grand final. What type of contest and battles in each round will be decided by the tournament committee depending on the number of disciples competing. Sadie continued to explain how the competition works. After taking mental notes, Michael asked, "What about the first championship for the body strengthening stage disciples?" It's pretty straightforward. First round will be a knockout round, the second will be one-on-one battle and the winners will yet again battle in the final. We would know who takes the championship in a couple of days after the tournament begins. I know who's going to win it, Gaia, Michael thought. Making Gaia reveal her true cultivation level to compete in the second championship might cause some unwanted suspicion on her, but none would suspect her if he makes her look like a body strengthening stage cultivator and compete in the first championship. He doubted the spell she was using to hide her cultivation level would be enough to fool the competition committee. Hence, he planned to ask the system to help Gaia hide her true cultivation level. If they both won the championship of their league, it would catapult the sect's reputation through the sky. Young master, while they were talking about the tournament, Mia finally returned with a silver space ring in her hand. All the items in the list are here. The space ring is on the house. Michael took the space ring from her hand to see the items inside. One could see metal bolts, gears, various colors of stones, coils, and many other components inside his ring. If he gave this ring to someone else, they wouldn't be able to make anything, but thanks to his unique inventor trait, he could make hundreds of spiders and a few dozen drones. It'll be 8,000 gold coins. Young Master Ghost, only 8,000? Sadie was taken aback by surprise. She thought he's here to buy a weapon or potion recipe, which would have definitely cost more than 20,000 gold coins, yet what he bought was only 8,000. The host should have brought all the items in the system's store, as it would have been high-quality items and saved you the time you've wasted here. The system's annoyed voice sounded in his mind. I could have if your prices weren't so outrageous. I can't afford to spend the points on anything unnecessary for now. Michael entered the system to reply. Take a loan, host. Didn't I make myself clear before? I don't want any more loans, hee. You will take a loan. He was stunned for a moment hearing the system's laugh. He could swear that the laughter seemed sinister. So you can now laugh, good to know. Why do you think I'm gonna take a loan? However, the system did not reply as it went silent. Knowing that it wouldn't answer him no matter how many times he asks. He just exited the system and sighed in his heart. The space ring alone would cost 10,000, but yeah, I can see what's happening. It wasn't uncommon to see trade centers like the Burning Star give discounts or freebies like this to establish a good relationship with figures like Michael, a 5-star alchemist. Michael accepted their gesture with a happy smile before willing the system to place stacks of 8,300 gold coins on the ground. Keep the change, Mia. It was nice to see you again. Sadie. Michael turned his gaze away from Mia and looked at Sadie. Why don't we talk in private, in my room? Mia's cheeks became red hearing the seductiveness of Sadie's voice. I have somewhere else to be, Sadie. Besides, I have a girlfriend now. Does it really matter? Sadie shamelessly leaned forward, but Michael took a step back. She tried to seduce him but never tried to use her telepathic abilities, as she saw what happened to Nyla when she tried to use the tactic on him during Heaven's Gate competition. It does. Well, meet again, he said as his face was void of any expression. Looking at the way he acted, Sadie didn't feel annoyed at him but desired to find a loyal man like him, as none has ever rejected her because they have a girlfriend or boyfriend. She wanted to meet the lucky girl who got a man like him. Sadie let out a long sigh before turning back to walk to her room. Mia was busy counting the gold coins as he failed to notice a tiny spider following Sadie. Does the host plan to fly to the dark forest and then fly to Ice Flare from there? I was going to, but now I know you have a better way. Am I right? There is, the system said as he entered the system and saw a blue card with a golden outline floating before him. Function name, Runic Teleporter Function. Enable the host to instantly teleport to the base of operations and the places marked by the system. Upgradable, no, say the word and the function will be enabled. The system tried to rush him, but he had a few questions. I have a few questions, like what the heck is the price? Michael raised his voice at the end of his sentence. Only 15,999 points. The host can accept a loan of 20,000 points and enable the function. This is what you were planning, he sighed, realizing the meaning of the system's words before. He really didn't want to take another loan, but this function was very tempting for him as it would be a great help traveling between kingdoms. However, he couldn't help but feel there might be some catches to this function. I assume there are some restrictions. The runic teleportation function cannot be used during a battle. The runes can only be placed in less populated places. Runes are free to place, or do I have to pay you? Each rune will cost the host 4,000 to 10,000 badass points depending on the distance between the host's current location and the destination. The system's words made his brows raise as he had one more question for the system. Does this function only let me teleport? No, the host can teleport subordinates and familiars with him for no additional cost. That's a surprise, said Michael, thinking deeply about taking the loan and buying the function. This does save me a lot of time and energy, he said to himself before taking a deep breath. System, give me a loan and buy this function. Wonderful, the system sounded pleased to hear his answer. Soon afterward, his badass points went from 8,500 to 28,500 and then it decreased to 12,501. Now that he had the runic teleporter function, a new jade green window with a list of names appeared in front of him. Currently, there were 2 names on the list, Sunrise Sect and the Abyssal. Both of them were his base of operations. However, he had to place a rune somewhere in Flame Fair before teleporting to Abyssal. This would save him the time of flying back to Flame Fair from the Dark Forest. On top of saving time, he could now be Ghost in one kingdom and be Lucifer in another with ease. If he had to find a downside of this function, he would say it's the restriction of being unable to use the function during battle. Considering there was another upgradable teleportation spell in the system store, the restriction was understandable, as if he desired to teleport during a battle, he had to buy the upgradable teleportation spell. The reason Michael didn't buy the teleportation spell was according to Gaia. The teleportation spell was considered as a legendary spell in this world. Therefore, if someone saw him teleport during a battle, it would make him a target of many. He decided to buy the teleportation spell only after he reached the core strengthening stage. For now, the lightning dash was a perfect substitute for the short-range teleportation spell. Since I got a loan and bought the function as you recommended, can you show me the places on Flame Fair where I could leave a rune? A map of Flame Fair appeared before him with a few golden dots on the holographic map. That's the tavern. He quickly recognized the place the golden dot was on as the tavern he spent the night. Good, he began to walk in the tavern's direction while moving the spider he left at the burning star to a dark corner in Sadie's room. Chapter 202, How do I place the rune system? Standing in a dark alley near the tavern, Michael questioned the system. Place your right hand on the wall before you. A prompt will appear. All right, said Michael, placing his right hand on the brick wall in front of him. This is a suitable place for a teleportation rune. Does the host wish to mark this area and add the location to runic teleportation locations? Yes, the very next second he agreed to the system's prompt. A dim golden light appeared from his right hand. The dim light then transformed itself into an orb of light before it disappeared into the wall. He opened the teleportation locations in the system to see the name Flame Fair Tavern among the list. Looking at the list, he only needed to focus his gaze on the name Abyssal as another prompt appeared. Does the host wish to teleport to the Abyssal? Yes, and equip my Lucifer armor. An unearthly humming sound rang in his head while everything began to turn dark around him. Fuck. Michael stumbled on the wall as he felt like throwing up. The world was spinning around him as every muscle in his body ached. Teleportation was not a new experience for him. Regardless, using this function was a whole new experience for him. The host is feeling the aftermath of the teleportation. Your body will soon adapt to the new experience, and next time you teleport, you won't be feeling like this. Michael's legs trembled as he leaned on the wall, waiting for his body to feel better. After taking a few deep breaths, he looked around and realized that he's standing in his room in Abyssal. The fancy bed and sofa Gaia forced him to buy was a dead giveaway. Yuak. Michael heard something hitting the ground as he turned to see Nightmare throwing up on the floor. Yuak, his shiny crimson-red scales lost their glow. Nightmare tried to speak, but all that came out of his mouth was the meat he ate yesterday. Stay in this room. Don't come outside, I wish. Yuak. Nightmare threw up again. Michael steadied himself before leaving the room. Navigating through the dark halls and corridors, Michael reached the throne hall. I should put lights on this place. It was a place built by the Order of the Death for the Dark Lord, but it didn't mean the place to be dark. He wanted to put some lights on so Abyssal could feel less gloomy and dreary. Considering Gaia left the Abyssal to go to the sect, the throne hall was empty. Instead of calling Dalar to ask where Arya is, Michael walked towards where the rooms were located. After entering the corridors, he could feel the energy fluctuations around Dalar's room. It was obvious that the orc was cultivating, and he had no intention to interrupt Dalar's cultivation. With the help of environmental scanning, Michael sensed a life presence in one of those rooms before him. The life presence was accompanied by two faint life presences. He knew they must be Arya's brothers. When he got closer to the room, he could hear a muffled sobbing sound coming from the room. He didn't ask or knock on the door, but rather directly opened the door to enter. Ah! He saw Arya jump back in sudden shock, seeing him suddenly enter the room. If Michael wasn't wearing his Lucifer suit of armor with a mask, she wouldn't have been jolted like this, but his black mask and tall bulky figure freaked her out. Instead of looking at Arya, his gaze was drawn towards the two figures lying on the bed. Both of them had neither legs nor arms, they were limbless. On top of them, he could see stitch marks and deep scars all over their bodies. They might have looked handsome before, except they were now anything but handsome. He could even see that someone had burned their hair. They were tortured and then experimented on, he thought to himself while walking towards them. She said, you can save them. Arya mustered up her courage to walk closer to Michael. She stuttered as her body shivered. It was a sign of anger and helplessness. Arya stared at him expecting an answer, yet she got nothing. Her eyes welled up slowly, losing the last bit of hope she had for saving her brothers. System, can we do something about them? After looking at their state, he realized that even his alchemy skills weren't enough to save them. No matter how hard he thought, he couldn't find a potion or pill that would help them grow limbs. The system requires 500 badass points to scan their bodies. Take it, a layer of light covered their bodies before vanishing. Arya couldn't see the light layer as Michael did. Besides the lack of limbs, organs such as kidneys, pancreas, and energy veins were removed from them. They were removed while they were still conscious. On top of this, they were tortured to the point that pieces of their souls had already departed from their mortal bodies. The system also found residues of various chemicals in their blood and brain which could make healing them difficult. You can heal them, right? Healing them will ensure her absolute loyalty. Plus, I have a feeling that these two will also be valuable subordinates to me in the future. The system can heal them for a price. No shit, 50,000 badass points for healing the body and 25,000 badass points for growing legs and arms for each. Fuck, he cursed in his heart. 150,000 badass points were not something Michael could spend leisurely. He could upgrade his spells and use the points to become stronger. This made him think that whether healing them would be worth it. He knew that only Arya could give him the answer. Given her ability to completely hide the energy radiation from her body, if she could become a deadly assassin by training and cultivating, her loyalty would be priceless to his cause. The way to earn her absolute loyalty was by healing her brothers. Healing them is the best course of action, the system said, but he knew the system was saying this to make sure that he would heal them, thus giving the system his badass points. Michael always trusted his guts, and currently, his guts told him that Arya will be a worthy subordinate. He turned his gaze away from the bed to see Arya staring at him as tears were rolling out of her bloodshot eyes. Her parents were killed, she lost her brothers, sold to another continent as a slave, saw her best friend burned alive by a noble, served under a clown to kill nobles, and when she thought she's going to reunite with her brothers, her world was yet again turned upside down. Looking at Arya, even Michael felt pity for the girl. Besides the lack of limbs, organs such as kidneys, pancreas, and energy veins were removed from them. They were removed while they were still conscious. On top of this, they were tortured to the point that pieces of their souls had already departed from their mortal bodies. I can also sense residues of various substances in their blood and brain which could make healing them difficult. He repeated the words of the system to fan the flames of her emotions. First, he wanted to feel so helpless before giving her a ray of hope. Arya's legs failed her as she dropped to the ground after hearing his words. Anger and helplessness started to cannibalize her soul. Healing them is not impossible. However, it will take time. Her heart skipped a beat as she looked up at him. Her mouth kept opening and closing without uttering a single word. Your absolute loyalty is my price for healing your brothers. Arya had nothing to give him except her body, and she was ready to give herself to him if he could heal him and required her to do so. Yet, he didn't ask her body but loyalty. If I have to be a slave to him to save my brothers, so be it, Arya said to herself before kneeling in front of him. I will die for you if it would bring my brothers back. Do you accept to be my subordinate? Yes, master. Does the host wish to accept Arya as a subordinate? Yes, subordinate. Arya cultivation level, body refining stage level 2 race, human status, healthy trait, assassin loyalty towards the host, 28%. Her loyalty level did not surprise him. After all, he hadn't healed her brothers yet and she barely knew him. The system recommends the host to keep injecting them with the 90% pure healing potion to prevent any more pieces of their souls from departing. The system's voice sounded in his mind as he retrieved a healing potion he specifically made for him and Gaia from the system's storage. He then handed it over to Arya before gesturing at her to stand up. Inject this to their bodies. This will keep your brothers alive and give their bodies the strength to withstand the healing process, as starting the process now would kill them. Arya clenched onto the healing potion like her life depending on it. Meet me at the throne hall in 10 minutes. I want to know more about you and the slave mine where you found your brothers, said Michael before leaving the room. He was very curious about what kind of experiments were going on in the slave mines and who was doing these experiments on the slaves. Infiltrating the mines would give him more information before deciding what to do with the mine. Besides, it would always be a great help for him to kill bad guys and earn experience points. Whoever running the experiments on the slaves had no idea that they just drew the attention of someone they shouldn't have, Lucifer. Chapter 203, Miss Elia, everything's finished. We can open the restaurant whenever you want. Daniel and Ricky were reporting the status of the restaurant to Gaia as she was munching on the cookies. Crumbs of cookies were all over her pearl white dress and the sofa, yet she couldn't care less. Ill-informed Ghost and come to a decision. Now go make sure there's no problem at Majestic. Yes, Miss Elia. They bowed deeply before leaving her room. With Gaia's guidance and the pills given to them by her, Ricky and Daniel reached the body strengthening stage. Previously, one could count the bones in Ricky's body, but now, he developed a well-toned body. Daniel on the other hand shed all the fat as well as his bushy beard. Their transformation was shocking to many people in Rivertown who have known them for so long. When they quit their guard job, many thought they were making a mistake. After all, working under the King of Breedia would provide them with a stable income and pension. However, those people who thought this became jealous as Daniel and Ricky did not only earn a handsome salary but their social status was also elevated by Ghost. Sister Elia, may I come in? Jack asked, standing near the door. What is it? Is someone messing with the new girl again? No, Jack frantically shook his head. Only yesterday, he saw Gaia beat the shit out of a guy who groped the new girl at the counter's ass. She was so ruthless that she set the guy's butt on fire. She's doing fine, considering a portion of the profit they were making in Majestic is going to the sect. Gaia hired a female disciple of the sect to be her assistant. By being Gaia's assistant meant that the girl has to do everything that Gaia does at the Majestic, including the occasional curses at the customers to keep them online. Thanks to Ghost and Gaia's reputation, there weren't as many unruly customers as when they first opened the Majestic. On top of the girl, Gaia also hired a group of adventurers as the security in case someone tried to steal or attack the Majestic while she was away. Even if the adventurers couldn't stop the attacks, they would function to slow down the enemies a bit by either getting killed or wounded. Miss Ella is here to meet you, Sister Elia, go and tell her to come in. Soon after Jack left the room, Ella entered the room. She was still in full black with a hood covering her burned skin. Seating herself on the sofa, Ella looked around, searching for Ghost. He's Colonel. Tivating. Tell me, how's your thing G-I-I-N-G? Words barely escaped her mouth, which was filled with biscuits. With everything you've given me, most of the disciples, teachers and elders will follow me most. You've got a specific number in mind? We've 140 disciples, 23 teachers, and 6 elders. Out of them 100 disciples, 15 teachers, and 4 elders are on my side. The rest of them were too loyal to Matthias or too stupid, said Gaia, placing the empty cookie jar on the table. Alright, I'd say we put this merger on the road. Demand the election to vote for a new sect leader now. Since you've got the majority of the elders and teachers at your side, you can easily win it, but something tells me you would have done it by now if there isn't a problem with that plan. Ella sighed, nodding her head. Matthias found a loophole in the document written by the founders. The election can't be held for another couple of years, fuck the elections. Gaia punched the sofa in anger. Enough of this election shit. Let's kill this fucker and be done with him. No way we can kill him. The only reason he's still not killing me or my supporters is that he's afraid of your previous sect master, the soul refiner. Besides, nowadays, he's not leaving his room and always cultivating. This seems like a good test for Arya. Gaia remembered Arya's ability to pass through defense arrays without triggering them. Handing over the operation to kill Matthias would be a good test for Arya, Gaia thought. Wait a sec, she said to Ella before going to the kitchen. Ella saw her coming back with a flower vase. Put this near Matthias' room. Well, take care of the rest. What is this? You don't want to know. Just do what I said. Next time, give me a fucking UAC warning. Gaia threw up on the floor after Michael brought her to Abyssal by teleporting her. It's a new teleportation scroll I just created. You'll get used to it, I better be. He gave a few minutes to stabilize her body. Gross, Nightmare said, hovering over her head. Go away, UAC. She swatted Nightmare away before continuing to throw up. Considering she filled her belly with cookies, it took her a few minutes to empty her belly. Here, Michael gave her a bottle of water and wiped off her mouth using a kerchief. Don't you have a juice or something, thut? Michael slapped the back of her head. Just drink the water. Raylene really spoiled this snake, Nightmare ridiculed Gaia. Enough you two. Come, we have work to do, he said, walking towards the surveillance monitors he glued to the wall in his room. Soon afterward, he willed the system to show the feed of Sadie's room. While the system was displaying the feed, he retrieved all the parts he bought from the Burning Star to start building the drones. Hey look, it's the human who tried to kiss you. Nightmare bit his tongue, quickly realizing that he shouldn't have said this. Yet it was too late as he felt a cold killing intent radiating from her body. What? Relax, I told her that I have a girlfriend. Nesta. However, before Gaia could say anything, she saw him stop whatever he was doing to stare at the monitor. We'll have this conversation later, she mumbled as she stared at the muscular woman on the monitor. After Nesta, a few other youngsters with guardian symbols embroidered on their chests entered Sadie's room. All of them looked very serious. Is it done? Sadie asked Nesta. Yes, Nesta said, throwing a file on the table before Sadie. I assume everyone has read this file, except for Sadie, who gawked cluelessly, nodded their heads. What were you doing? Banging Ghost? Nesta asked as Michael felt the air around him became colder. I wish. Apparently, he has a girlfriend now, good for him. Alright, let me run everyone through the plan again. Listen carefully. Sadie leaned on the nearby wall to listen to Nesta. From an hour ago, we the Guardians and the Duke have withdrawn the troops and recalled the hunt for Nightcrawler. Interesting, said Michael. What's the plan? The plan is simple, Sadie. We withdraw the men, let Nightcrawler crawl out of whatever hole he's in, and when he does, bam. Nesta punched a hole in the wall. We nabbed that bastard. How? Take a look at all the paintings. Nesta threw the file at Sadie as she began to rummage through the file. Since the spider couldn't cover the photos inside the file, Michael had no idea what the paintings looked like. Those are the paintings of Nightcrawler's victims. My team did a good job putting it all together. Can you see what they all have in common? Sadie remained silent for a few moments before answering Nesta. They all have red hair? Sadie said, furrowing her brows in doubt. Exactly. That sick bastard has a thing for redheads. However, that's not the only thing my team found. Look at the map, that's his hunting circle. Although redheads are not very common, there must be at least 50 redheads living in this area, 36 to be exact, and all of them are being replaced by my men as we speak, Nesta said and continued, as you all know, ever since we put the city under lockdown, there wasn't a single new murder that matched Nightcrawler's MO. The behavior predictors at the guild had classified Nightcrawler as a serial killer. The longer he goes without killing, the stronger his desire to kill again. We may have still no idea how did he manage to kill those nobles who had powerful defense arrays. We now know that he will strike as soon as he feels safe. Are you pretending to be withdrawing the troops or? No tricks. For the plan to work, we really have to convince the Nightcrawler that we called off the hunt. Only then, he would emerge again and make a move on one of my 36 men. You're taking a pretty big risk here, Nesta, Sadie said as Nesta laughed. No risk, no reward, Sadie. You know this better than anyone. Michael swiftly moved the spider through telepathic connection to take a glimpse at Nightcrawler's hunting area. The spider had a risk of being caught by Nesta or anyone the guardians in the room, but it was worth the risk. If they did catch the spider, Michael would destroy the spider remotely so they would get nothing. Just a little more, Michael mumbled, looking at the spider getting closer and closer to the file. If he could manage to move the spider directly above the file on the table, he would get a glimpse. System, the moment the file comes into the sight, take a picture. It would be 50 badass points. No problem. Fortunately, the camouflage of the spider was enough to avoid getting detected by the guardians. Regardless of all the safety measures Michael built in the spider, he still treated spying using the spiders cautiously. Picture taken successfully. The moment he heard the confirmation sound from the system, he immediately moved the spider to a safe dark spot. Let's hunt this Nightcrawler ourselves. Hey, erase the Discord link to my server where you can see the character images, listen to character theme music and have a chat with me. Chapter 204. The winter sky was a barren land filled with nothing but clouds. Only the howling wind and heavy downspout of snowflakes were the true companions of the night. Ironically, the city of Flamefair lacked flames during this winter. One could not even see the guards patrolling around the Duke's manor. The soldiers were long gone into the barracks after leaving defense arrays activated around the manor. Not only the Duke's manor but every single important place was now protected by the arrays, not the guards unless they were willing to use arch energy to keep their bodies warm. The heavy downpour of snow soon became a merciless blizzard. The blizzard wind seemed like it was trying to replicate the sound of wolves howling at the moon. Those who were living outside the city suffered most of the winter. Most of them lacked the necessary winter clothes and cozy home. For the nobles, winter was a perfect time to increase their family size. The majority of the nobles treated the winter as their sweet little escape from reality. However, their perfect reality was messed up by a single person, Nightcrawler. Now the nobles had to spend their nights in fear as the cold was not the only reason for their shivering. You messed up, human. I see no shit except blue, said Gaia, staring at the monitor's back in Abyssal. It's called thermal vision. To put it simply, my drone will pick up the heat signatures emitted by someone or something. Since Nesta withdrew the troops, leaving the Flamefair vulnerable, there's a possibility that Nightcrawler would emerge from his hole. Ghosty, but look at the blizzard there. We can't bet this Nightcrawler would pick this night to hunt. Nightmare was right. The blizzard might throw a wrench on Nightcrawler's plans, but Michael strongly believed that he would choose this night to hunt. You heard Nesta before. He's a serial killer. If I'm right, he's still learning the craft. Unless he learned to control his urge to kill, he will emerge from the dark. If Michael had either personally seen the crime scenes or read the file Nesta's team put together, he would have completely learned that Nightcrawler is still an amateur serial killer. Michael wondered how Nightcrawler managed to get in and out of the noble's house without triggering any defense mechanisms. If this Nightcrawler too had an ability to hide his arch-energy radiation like Arya, he would prove to be a worthy cadaver for Michael to experiment on in the future. Recruiting a serial killer had too many risks, as most of the serial killers tend to work alone. What are those thingies you made me put in all around Breedia and Kethan? It's easier and fun to demonstrate rather than me explaining. The three of them stared at the monitors in silence before Gaia cleared her throat, attempting to get Michael's attention. HRRGGMM, she cleared her throat again, but seeing no response from him, she grabbed Michael's chair, turning him around to look at her. He saw her staring at him with her hands folded against her gorgeous chest. No matter how many times he has seen her, she still mesmerized him. If she showed her original face, he knew he has to fight noble brats from morning to night, as she was an angelic beauty who would turn a straight woman into a gay and gay man to straight in a few seconds. Even when she was mad or annoyed, it only boosted her beauty. What? Michael shrugged. The little dragon was slowly walking backward from Michael. So that bitch tried to kiss you, huh? It was not a question but rather sounded like a threat. I thought I made myself clear. How about the next time I see her, I'd go for the kiss, he joked, removing the black skull mask from his face. Like this he pulled her closer as she stumbled on him. Without letting Gaia speak, he closed her mouth with his. The longer he kissed her, the stronger he pressed her head against his. It was a deep kiss willed with flames of passion and love. Look! Nightmare's shout broke their kiss. The little dragon raised his claws, pointing at the mirrors. Gaia's meaningless anger completely vanished away after the kiss as she cuddled him tightly. Cuddling on the chair, they both looked at the mirrors to see a red humanoid figure moving over the rooftops. Welcome to the party, pal, he willed the drone that's catching the figure's feed to follow. By looking at the thermal image of the figure, Michael could see the figure has a medium height with skinny body type. What's that? Because he was familiar with thermal images, he quickly saw the abnormal heat emission from the figure's body. All of the figure's body was golden yellow, but his chest area was bright red. The red around his chest area was also pulsating. Nightmare, come here, buddy, the little dragon hopped over to him as Michael put a collar around his neck. A small glimmer of light shone on the middle of the collar. It was the camera he built. What is this? It has a built-in camera. Look there, now I see what you see, he pointed at one of the mirrors as Nightmare saw Michael's and Gaia's faces in the mirror. Plus, there's a mic and speaker attached to the collar. These will let us communicate regardless of the distance. He didn't build these himself but bought from the system because it only cost him 100 badass points. He was too busy building 4 drones and spiders as he decided to buy them from the system rather than building them himself to save time. Moreover, the collar had a tiny poison dart that could be fired by Michael through a telepathic connection. Well, teleport to Flame Fair. Follow him, it's highly unlikely that someone would notice you through the blizzard. Remember, don't get closer. I'll talk you through this, let me go with him, Gaia interrupted Michael before he could leave the chair. If this Nightcrawler isn't stronger than me, I'll shoot him with one of the knockout arrows and bring him here. He rubbed his stubble beard he had started to grow recently. Gaia was a far better shot than him. He was good but she was better. There was certainly a possibility that he could miss the shot at Nightcrawler thanks to the blizzard, yet he was confident that she could make the shot using her Legolas bow. Time was of the essence. Nightcrawler wasn't hunting as he was probably thinking, he was being hunted by the Guardians. Nightcrawler had no idea that he was going to walk straight into a trap. If Michael wanted to catch him, he must act now before it's too late. Alright, but if you feel something amiss, get the hell out there. I killed a group of Grim Reapers with a knife. How hard can this be? She said, cracking her neck. And I killed a group of trained assassins with an ice pick, but that doesn't mean we should be careless. He stood up from his chair before putting his black mask on. She too wore the mask that he gave her to change her face, and then she put on the black mask to finish her female Lucifer getup. Oh shit. Here we go again, she couldn't help but curse, recalling how bad she felt after being teleported using his new method. She closed her eyes involuntarily. The very next moment, she felt like she was being torn into countless pieces before a sudden chill hit her face. She opened her eyes to see she was standing in an alley knee-deep in snow. Go, Gaia and Nightmare took off from the ground like a rocket leaving the ground. In their rush to find some action, they forgot to ask what Michael's going to do. System, hide my presence, he said as the energy being radiated from his body became less and less until it had almost gone. Taking out a mirror from his storage, he monitored Nightcrawler who was still moving on the rooftops. The blizzard was definitely making his advancement towards his target a pain, thus saving him from the Guardians. However, the Guardians weren't his only problem. Ghost, I can see him. He's just at the body refining stage. Michael was thoroughly stunned to hear Nightmare's words. He could sense the doubt and uncertainty in Nightmare's voice. I see him too. What the actual fuck? How could a body refiner manage to kill those nobles? Does he have a special ability like Arya? Take him down and we can find out his secret. Avoid hitting his chest though. He guessed that the thing pulsating could be Nightcrawler's secret. Therefore he didn't want it to get damaged by Gaia's arrow. Considering he himself brewed the knockout agent that was smothered on Gaia's arrows, he couldn't be more positive that it would knock him out the second the arrow hit Nightcrawler's body. He could feel the tension building up inside him. He had a strong feeling that this is going to lead him to something big other than a shitload of badass points he would get when he livestreamed killing Nightcrawler to the entire Breedia and Flamefair. Target insight, take the shot. Michael took off from the ground like Superman. He soared through the air towards Gaia's location as fast as he could. He wanted to get Nightcrawler, subdue him with the help of the system before teleporting back to Abyssal. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.